Hello and welcome. We are going to be starting here our first 3v3v3. Actually, wait one sec. It looks like someone else needs to join because we only have 8 other players, so someone needs to join the game. But we will be drafting now. I will let the players know they can draft. You should be able to see it at the bottom. Also, one other player needs to join. Did we lose someone from Team 1? We might have. We're definitely going to have some logistical situations here. Oh, wait. Yes, okay. We are, in fact, live. Alright. So, the format I have up here is what I have my power rankings for, which I think the best countries are, but super tentative and super... you know, I don't think that this format's necessarily solved. This is the first time we're running a 3v3v3. It's hard to tell. I think it's going to be very Wild Westy. There might be, like, no wars. There might be a ton of PvP wars. Not really sure how it's going to shake out. There's a lot of different ways you can exploit a variety of things. And basically, all the exploits are allowed, so it's full power. So, we do need to get... Who's the one player that's not in game? And we will sort that out momentarily. Actually, I'll just join their channel.
Not gonna do many. I at least try to avoid many wars.
What happened?
Overseas wars.
What happened with you guys? There's only 2 people in your chat.
Yeah, Alfred keeps joining and leaving. He's still in the game, but I think his mic isn't working. That's
okay.
Why. Yeah, he just texted me. Be right there, having a mic issue.
Okay. Do you guys know which pick you want? You're also on stream.
We know what we want. It's a question if we get it.
Well, oh, that's right, because Team 2 is drafting first. Got it. Or no, wait. Wait, didn't you guys pick?
We are.
You guys picked first picked.
We get one first pick, but the other 2 picks are very late.
Yeah. So you, so anytime you're ready, you can just say who you're drafting in the chat. Does that make sense? I'm gonna go back to org. Alright, everyone. We're underway. So, the draft format is Team 1 has first pick, and they have 7th pick and 8th pick. Team 2 has the, let's see, 2nd, 3rd, and 9th pick, and Team 3 has 4th through 6th, and Team 1 picks up Russia. So we are going to come in and put that in our spreadsheet. I said we're going to put it in our spreadsheet. And get things ready to go. And Team 2 picks up both France and Prussia. And so now we have Team 3 with 4th through 6th pick here. France and Prussia seems like a fine arrangement, especially because France can help Prussia to form, you know, kind of early on. And Prussia is going to... The scoring system for this is going to be based on GDP growth. And so we will be... kind of doing things that way in order to do the scoring. They pick up France and Prussia. I do have to do a little bit of copy and pasting in the correct spots. Let's also pull up the chat. Hello, Crate. Hello, Israel. How are you guys doing today? We are going to be underway soon. We are currently drafting the teams. Let's jump back in. And we have Qing, USA, and UK picked up here for, as, man, that's a strong team. Also, the East India Company gets left open, which is a bit wild. So we have Qing, USA, UK. France and Prussia for Team 2. And first team picks up Austria, and they have another pick, so they're still on the clock. I think they're probably discussing whether or not to take East India Company, which is a bit of an interesting situation, because they do start out as a subject of Great Britain, and this will put people into direct conflict. This is one of the discussions we had in regards to, you know, what things would look like at the start, and if we wanted to have any special draft rules, because it is an awkward and weird situation. The asterisk is next to Spain, because I think that they should be moved down, but I didn't want to deviate from the video that I did stuff. You would have picked Packable States? That would have been very memey. It ain't easy being memey. So they pick up Austria. And then I have to do some stuff on the spreadsheet off to the side so that you guys can have an update for who's where. In terms of starts. Hello, David. How's it going? Hello, Schultz. Brazil? That is interesting. So the East India Company gets left for the very end. That is an interesting pick. I guess they are... So, for the entirety of the New World, they do have some kind of interesting situation... Oh, no, wait. So, Team 2 is probably going to pick up East India Company then. And so we're going to have Russia, Austria, Brazil on Team 1, Qing, USA, and UK on Team 3, and we are waiting to hear the final pick in Team 2. Sicily. Okay, so they are going to try and leverage Austria, and, or they don't have Austria. Interesting. So we're going to go Team 2 as France, Prussia, and Sicily. Okay, so I'll just let everyone know to pick a game. And we, of course, will DM the info rather than spoiling it here in the chat. And we will copy and paste all of the eco info that way and swap over to eco view. Because currently I have a little spreadsheet thing for you guys, an overlay for the score, but I need to input the numbers first before you'll see anything. And so this is very exciting. People are selecting their countries. I should have formatted this thing differently. This is Great Britain. Wow, absolutely wild to not see the East India Company drafted. I guess no one wanted the headache of once UK had drafted, they just didn't want to have to deal with the fact that, you know, we would be having... Here, let's get... Once the UK is drafted, right, they are now going to be a subject of the UK, and they figured, hey, the East India Company, even though it's pretty good, I don't want to have to deal with this, you know, situation. As I'm swapping back and forth, it should be actually spreading what the... I'm glad I have Brazil in here. Brazil also just has an enormous growth potential, especially if you can, you know, pull off a lot of migrants specifically. And they do have both Austria and Russia here, and I'm sure they would have preferred the USA, but, you know, it is what it is. And who are we missing here? We're still missing one player, right? We have the Brazil player, we have the Austria player, we have France. Perhaps we should have drafted off-stream, but I think that the draft is very interesting. You know, the way that things have shaken out. Let's just keep putting stuff in, and so we will have the GDP rankings of everyone. We have, we don't have the total. And there we should have the GDP of Team 1 at the start of the game. And they currently experience no growth. The Russia player is not in yet. Can someone message him the info? And we will be... I don't want to dox the stream. I suppose the stream chat's not in there yet. And we will just have a chat with chat. So, why don't we actually take a little bit of a poll and see who we think has gotten the best draft here. So, let's open up this window. We're going to do a poll. Who got the best draft? Team 1. Team 1. Team 2. And I will add another option for Team 3. Notably, Team 1 got Russia, Austria, Brazil. Team 2 got France, Prussia, Sicily. And Team 3 got Qing, USA, UK. Who got the best draft here? We will update the rankings here, but I think I'm going to try and update the rankings as we start. And they are joining right now. We're going to have Russia. Russia will arrive. Russia will arrive. Now, we do have to put in Prussia here. 12.1. And we will ready check. I will switch to observation mode. And we will get underway. Apologies, I should have had this formatted a little bit better. Okay, we don't have everyone quite ready yet. Team 1 is ready. Team 3 is not ready. I think that their draft was quite strong. They managed to pick up... Whoever has UK also has particularly a strong draft. UK, US chain feels super strong. I agree, especially because the East India Company was not selected. Hey, AFO Dragon, how's it going? The Franco-German-Italian alliance will likely be able to take down either Austria or British after they've found their tags. Yes, but we are going 2.5 hours. They might not be able to find their tags. You know what? Do you know when people should be able to be building universities? I like to think that after, you know, after maybe 200 construction, you start to go into that a little bit. We're going to be playing on speed 4-3. Team 3 has the best. They have consistent power. Yeah, I kind of agree. Although, you know, there's like a tripedal balance element in this game. Because we have 3 teams, and we could talk about this a lot more, because there are exactly 3 teams, if one team is obviously the strongest team, you know, then they are in a position where they can actually, you know, get ganged up on by the other 2 teams. And while Team 3 seems to have the strongest start, at least in my opinion, you know, they do have the challenge of, you know, they are going to have to deal with if I am one of the other two players, I want to negotiate, and I want to try and figure out, you know, a way to fight off these, you know, what looks like a very, very, very strong team. I think that there's technical difficulties on Team 3's side here. Let's jump in and actually swap over the Steam so you guys can see what's going on in regards to the Diplo and situation. As I get in the very last, USA get in their economy at the very start. They start out at 18.8 million. And we will have our starting GDP. Now keep in mind, for each of these, the game is going to be based on who has the greatest GDP growth, that is nominal growth, which is the yellow figure. And so we will jump back into that and take a quick look. We will see that the starting GDPs for each team, Team 1 starts with 67 million, Team 2 with 45 million, and Team 3 with 134 million. Let's take a look at what the voting has been in regards to the draft and talk to chat a little bit. We'll end the poll. So it looks like the consensus is Team 3 with a pretty strong also bump for Team 1. We could talk about this quite a bit. Am I playing? I am not going to be playing. I'm going to be casting only. Might just start on these guys anyway. It'd be like that sometimes. I'm gonna open up chat. Definitely not used to this casting sort of situation, so forgive me for what's going on. So, Team 1, I should have a cheat sheet. I need to make myself a cheat sheet. Team 1 is Russia, Austria, Brazil. And I think Team 1's strategy actually makes a lot of sense in regards to their pick. They wanted a new world pick. I'm sure they wanted USA, but the idea is when you have a new world pick and these really high, you know, pop European guys, and you can get them all in one customs union, then you can siphon off really well. And so Brazil will be able to grow their GDP really well, and they might also be looking to play some sort of, you know, there's a strategy you could perhaps make. All right, we're going to start the game now. Oh, do I have to select a country in order to start? Okay, I guess I'm gonna select Sokoto, and we will be off on our way here. Now, there's a 2-minute grace period. Where anyone can unpause, or sorry, not anyone can unpause. There's going to be a 2-minute grace period where players can do all of their pre-game actions, and we are going to put that timer in here in the low tech my phone. And once we get that, then we will be unpausing. Now, Team 1 is Russia, Austria, and Brazil. And so Russia has one of the strongest militaries at the very start of the game, which puts them in a very strong position. And it looks like straight away they're going for Puppet Persia here. And so they're just kind of letting everyone know, we're going after Persia just right at game start. Now, I think that they will not ally each other, or that they should not ally their allies, because then they can only engage in, you know, a minimal number of wars. France, before I'm pausing, is already going after Mascara. I really like the Persia play, because Persia is one of the strongest countries, you know, that you can go after at the start of the game, in terms of just being able to puppet straight away. We might see, you know, if players get too involved early on in wars, and UK can at any time annex the East India Company, and if East India Company gets annexed, the UK team will win, and that's Qing, USA, UK. And I think the sort of the targets on their back. Now, Qing's market is based off of here, but I'm sure that Qing is looking to move their capital. They have not moved their capital yet. They probably want to be a little bit careful about that, because they can lose an early war. It looks like USA is going for Mexico here. I'm assuming this is a puppet Mexico play, which is going to be quite strong. I don't know if these players have negotiated any sort of thing. We can kind of pull up the little Diplo portion of this and see if anyone is kind of negotiated anything. They have not, and so it'll be interesting to see if anyone protects anyone and this sort of stuff. You know, they said France, don't you dare join on that. Not sure exactly what that means. Strategy of get good. Yeah, it's my favorite strat. Let's see if I can read this here. And there's 4 seconds. We are about to unpause and see everyone's wars. It looks like... Alright, so we get started here. Now, it's unfortunate that we can't spectate exactly how many or what's going on in these battles. But, as I was saying, you know, Russia, Austria, Brazil, I think they're going to look for a migration strategy and also potentially try and use Russia to go maybe agrarianism, which is going to be very interesting if they kind of do that. We can't see what laws they're passing, unfortunately. But if they go agrarianism off of traditionalism, which is relatively easy, you can use Russia to breadbasket. And when you fire the pops out of the sub-farms, then they can go to Brazil. And you can easily, you know, decrease... well, you can't... You can kind of easily decrease the prestige of Austria, you know, at game start, because what you can do here is by decreasing their prestige, you can get them in the Russian market. They're adjacent, and then you have a nice-looking, you know, market thing that you have going on. So this is kind of what I think of the idea behind one's draft, along with Russia and Austria have some of the strongest militaries at the very start of the game. It looks like Austria is going after, and what are they trying to grab here? Austria is going after... Man, there's so many wars going on. Austria wants to conquer Thessaly. Okay. They want to conquer Thessaly. Now, where is Thessaly? Right here. And they're going to liberate Bulgaria. So it looks like they're not going to go for high infamy. This is another inflection point. If you go over 100 infamy, like in game, you can suffer quite a bit because someone can... Or generally... PvE, it's not too bad, because you should be in a good situation. Looks like we have another war against Burma here. I'm assuming this is subjugation. But if you do this in PvP, and you are the strongest team, man oh man, are you going to get cut down to size. I really, really like, you know, Team 3, or Team 3's draft. So we're going to talk about Team 2's draft, which I think is the France, Prussia, and the 2 Sicilies. Now, 2 Sicilies, I think, is probably... So here's the thing. The name of the game is GDP growth, right? If you have 2 Sicilies and you form Italy, your GDP will grow an immense amount. And so this will put you in a good position to have a high score, right? The problem is like, can you form 2 Sicilies in time? You will have France's help, right? As well as Prussia's help. And also Prussia, at the same time, can also look for this unification. So it looks like Team 2's strategy is very unification-centric. Now, Team 3, they got China, unlimited pops, and they got USA. If the game goes long enough that they can pass multiculturalism, which we might end up continuing this game later, the ability of the US to siphon off, you know, Qing's pops is incredible. Also, would not be surprised to see if the United States intentionally depresses their prestige so they can join the British market and have the Great Qing in the British market, and also expecting to see a swapping of provinces from Great Qing and USA. Because Great Qing, they suffer from unemployment problems. And so if, let's say, you swap Fujian here as a province, which has, you know, a ton of arable land and a ton of potential employment, or a ton of employment, let's say you swap it for, you know, Louisiana, or preferably you would want to go for the other coast here. But if you swap it for one of these provinces that has empty subsistence farms, then all the unemployed Chinese pops can just migrate to these subsistence farms, and you won't have to suffer the negative effects of unemployment, which you commonly experience with Great Qing. And so this is, in particular, very, very, very strong. Trading Great Qing provinces for New World provinces, I think at some point the players will do. You know, they'll just back down to each other at some point. Probably Great Qing picking up US provinces first would be my guess as to which way is better. But we'll see. Export Chinese to USA, that would be the plan, except I don't think they'll be able to get onto multiculturalism that early. And so we'll see. You wonder how much time to see a player war? I think that this was the general consensus. Probably not going to see a player war very early, and the reason for this is that, you know, if two teams get embroiled in some sort of existential conflict, the third team wins, right? And so this isn't piss, it's the Red Bull soda stream stuff. Yeah. I'm not drinking piss. This is not my streamer piss bottle, just in case. Looks like Russia gets involved here on the side of Austria, so they might be allied, which I think is a mistake, but it's important that these players have completely different skill levels from each other. It doesn't look like they're allies. Okay, it looks like they're just helping out. That seems fine. The reason I don't think you want to be allied is because you want to be able to start as many wars as possible, and being allied kind of breaks your ability to do this. Brazil's going to be just picking up the rest of their war, and let's see if... Let's just kind of go through and see. Looks like USA is not making any more moves right now. Russia's currently doing their Prussia thing. Austria is going after the Ottomans, and ooh, we do see a player war. Is that what's going on here? Or is that just attitude? Let's take a look. No, that's just attitude. So, Austria's currently involved in that war. Brazil has got their conflicts. That's Team 1's wars. Now, Xing is going after Burma, or they've already gone after Burma here. USA has already gone off in Mexico, and now they're chilling. And let's see if the UK is up to anything. Now, the UK is going to be a really important one to watch. If the UK, because the name of the game is GDP growth, if the UK ever annexes the East India Company, their team is in first place. And so if they do this in a timing when, you know, maybe when we only have 30 minutes remaining, and they won't be able to be enforced on in a follow-up war, then that team just wins, basically, because we are scoring based off of GDP growth. And so this is going to be, you know, an important one for that. Let's take a look at France and Prussia's. Let's see if they have started any wars. Prussia is going after Denmark. Let's see what this war is for. Subjugate Denmark, conquer Schleswig-Holstein, and Danish war reps. And no one has joined, so this solves a big amount of the problems for German unification. And again, it seems that, you know, Team 2's strategy here is going to be going for unification. So we have a pause. It looks like it was an accidental pause. Pausing is not allowed, except under the circumstance where there is a PvP join after 70% escalation. A PvP join or Wargle add after 70% escalation. And so we're going to see several kind of changes to the map here. Let's see. And then we have the apologize for pause. Yeah, no problem. We will not be penalizing anyone for what looks like kind of pausing that is going over the normal, like, state of affairs here. Let's see. Sure, it's not piss. Well, you know, it could be piss. It could be piss. I'm pretty sure you're not allowed to drink piss on stream, so if I was drinking piss on stream, I would say it's not piss. You wonder if we'll see any agitator shenanigans? I do too. Generally speaking, European agitators seem a little bit better, especially if you couldn't accept them. Didn't expect so much war in an economic game. Well, it's all about GDP growth, and so if we take a look here, you know, at Mexico's GDP, they have a GDP of 4 million. If the US annexes this, you know, independent of the fact that Mexico has a ton of gold, their GDP is going to pop up that 4 million, you know what I'm saying? And so, you know, subjugating and annexing is going to be a big part of, you know, increasing your GDP in the short term, as well as, you know, making the economic moves as well. You know, I really like Team 1's opening here with, you know, Russia and Austria, and they are just grabbing what looks like good and big chunks of stuff. I'm not sure if this Ottoman war is the best war, but it's pretty good. I'm shocked to see no one going for any of this at the game start. You know, and trying to get the gold and in both Transvaal and Orangey, or even going for Brunei, which will also have gold. Looks like they are still kind of winding up their war. What's going on here? They're going after North Borneo. And so this is kind of the war I was talking about, which I think is pretty good, because there's going to be gold here. You know, Xing's making money moves here. Let's see if the UK has started a war yet. No, they have not yet started a war. They might just be waiting for an opportunity to annex the East India Company, because if you just do just this one war, you're going to be like in an incredible spot. I'm very surprised that East India Company went undrafted, but okay. Looks like someone's not defending their fronts a little bit. Sad losing to the Ottomans at the very start. Ottomans are an interesting one that like is maybe almost draftable, but they start off with some malices. You could draft them. They have a lot of resources. They have a lot of pops, and they have pops that are accepted by European countries, and so you can use them as part of like the migration strategy that Russia, Austria, Brazil, I'm thinking is using, where they are kind of going to try and juice up Brazil via migration. Why didn't I choose prestige growth? Prestige is much easier to game than GDP. You would see at the very last 20 minutes, players would just absolutely crank up, like military, for example, and juice up their prestige. It is much harder to game GDP, although you can game it a little bit. How do you feel about new migration system from patch 1.2 to 1.3? You mean patch 1.1 to 1.2? That was when the significant nerf to mass migration happened, if I recall correctly. Waju says, hey, you just joined. What are the countries? Would love to have some info somewhere permanent. Yeah, I made this overlay last night, and I probably should have had which countries are where. For Team 1, we have Russia, Austria, and Brazil. And it looks like they're going after a migration strategy. I think that Team 2 is France, 2 Sicilies, and Prussia. Also, notably, they're all in this nice pocket together, which is going to make trading or having a large customs union better. And Prussia is in the Prussian market, France is in the French market, and 2 Sicilies is also in the French market. For Russia, we have Russia, Austria, and Brazil. They're all their separate markets. And finally, Team 3. Team 3 seems to be the scary one. They are USA. They have not done anything to depress their ranks so they can join a market. We have Great Qing, which probably should join a market. And also the UK themselves, which is, of course, in their own market. And I don't think they've started a war. Oop, looks like they've started a war. And they are going after the Sikh Empire. They're going after Punjab. It looks like they will be having some assistance from Great Qing, who will be taking Kashmir. And they will also be going after Baluchistan. And so this is going to be interesting. It looks like France is helping out Prussia here with the Denmark subjugation. I'm a little surprised to see no one go after Bolivia before Peru-Bolivia form. We might still see some of that. Brazil's cleaning up their borders. Looks like... What happened to the Brunei thing? I thought they were going after Brunei. Ah, they are going after Brunei. And we have what looks like an accidental pause here. You missed the migration notifications. You can change your notifications in your game settings. It may not be relevant, but you have a question. In 1.3, how do I annex treaty port provinces? Like, you played as France and you won Gibraltar, but don't know which war to go. You can think of every... So, the way it kind of works is a little bit buggy. You actually need to own... I forget if Gibraltar is part of... I think it's part of Eastern Andalusia. You actually need to own Eastern Andalusia if you're trying to take it off of someone who is an equal power rank to you, which is kind of annoying, which makes that taking treaty ports off of GPs very difficult. You have to own the full province and then, or part of the province, and then you can go after it. I can't remember if it's take treaty port or conquer state, but this is the way you do it. It looks like Russia's going for Afghanistan here. They might be having a strategy also of... So, the name of the game is GDP growth, right? This is how you are getting a score. And in particular, going for arable goods is generally not very good because of long-term considerations related to investment pool. However, GDP growth, if you just want to juice up the GDP, man-oh-man is opium generally an efficient way of doing it, especially if... And I really wish I could go into the tech tree. Maybe I'll just play as Go Beer here. Let's see. Oop. because I want to show something in the tech tree. Oh, I forgot what I wanted to show. Oh, okay. So GDP, one of the best techs for GDP is actually pump jacks and automatic irrigation, especially if you have gone a very large amount of plantations. And so someone might try and rush this spike before the end of the game, and it'll be interesting to see. You know, if you focus military and you don't end up PvPing, then your military is useless, right? But if you focus something like growth, then it's going to be really good. And I think that we have not in the Diplo seen any negotiation or any negotiation attempt between Team 1 and 2 to address Team 3's, what I think is a stellar draft. Although I think Team 1's draft is also, you know, pretty good. I'm curious to see if they can unify two Sicilies into Italy, considering that Austria is not on the same team. You know, here it would have been, I think, maybe better for the team to draft France and Austria if they were planning on going for two Sicilies, because then they could give over the Austrian territory for free, you know, but they did not choose to do that. And so that'll be interesting. We got Denmark war here. No one's annexed a lot of territory. We've just created puppets for the most part, but they are going to be looking to annex them in 5 years and be boosting their GDP, you know, by the size of their puppets' GDP for the most part. So we're going to be getting 5 here. But the thing to really watch is what happens here with the East India Company. You know, if the UK can annex them, or if the UK maybe leaves them alone, I mean, it's going to be really strong if you just wait until, like, right before the end date, and then you go for that annex, and then you try and fight, you know, the existential war that I assume everyone will want to join in against. If they notice. If they don't notice, you know, it's going to be difficult. But let's take a look at the chat. Do you have a video on how I'm supposed to liberalize a video guide on early game economic growth? I have one on early game economic growth. It's a little out of date. I've been thinking of doing a more updated one, but the idea is you focus on capitalist-owned buildings very, very, very early. So if we just come in and go beer, we would want to go logging camps, and we would want to kind of go sawmills, and without going into some spreadsheets, when you go sawmills, you switch from merchant guild owned to being privately owned, so you're going to be owned by the capitalists here, which will contribute more to the investment pool, which is going to be quite strong. It looks like Prussia's probably going to be finishing up their war pretty soon here against, why can you not enforce? Why are you... Okay, I thought they were stuck at 0, but it looks like a full occupation. So they are going to be enforcing pretty soon. We have another war over here. Let's see what the USA is up to. If they're making any moves. It doesn't look like it. Relatively mellow. Like, no one's gone for Bahrain. You know, Brunei is still... has not been landed yet by Great Qing. It looks like Great Qing is a little bit distracted by this Sikh war. Or they just can't... They do start out with a navy. Let's actually take a look if they have moved their capital. They have not moved their capital, which leaves them very vulnerable. See, China starts out with an enormous GDP at the very start of the game, and what, you know, you can kind of have happen is if a bunch of people look to release Chinese provinces or get rid of Chinese provinces, then this is going to cause problems for China. Now, conquering directly is probably not the way to go in this PvP. So, for example, if France, Prussia, and Sicilies go after, let's say, a couple of these Chinese provinces like Fujian and Zhejiang, this would normally be very good. But what the players can do is they can declare war on each other. So, for example, Russia, or sorry, not Russia, the UK, who is a teammate of Great Qing, can declare war for the exact same war goals, and then the Qing can just back down to the UK, effectively breaking the war of the other player. And so this is like an important feature that you can do it in this way, you know, is going to allow players to kind of negate some war goals, but you cannot negate, for example, release Mongolia, release UA. And so this can be an important way that, you know, teams 1 and 2 try and kneecap team 3 if they start pulling away with it, which will... we see a let's talk from Joey, who is on... Let's double check what team people are on. But this is going to be interesting. we see a negotiation between Joey and Brandon, teams 1 and 2. So they have perhaps identified, hey, team 3, if we don't do something about it, team 3 is going to run away with the bag. You know, team 3 is in a position to do extremely well, and we want to talk about this sort of thing. And so that's what they're doing. We will have small interviews with teams at the middle of the game. I have not prompted teams that this is a possibility, although I do want to interview the team that wins, but we can do that. I'm very curious what this negotiation was about, so I might jump into the negotiation thing. The thing is I did not tell them that they could not say anything inappropriate in negotiations. And so, but why don't we just jump in and hear what they have to say? Hello? So this is, you're being streamed. So what was that negotiation about?
Well, you're gonna hear.
I don't want it.
You don't want to.
You don't want to tell?
Okay,
that's fair enough.
Wait. How about this? You let Brazil take South America, and you get all North America.
Okay.
I mean, that was going to happen anyway.
All right. Well, I guess then we'll put in paper then.
Yeah. So if anyone, just for the stream, if anyone puts in the negotiation what the agreement is, if someone breaks the agreement, they suffer a 5% penalty to their score. So. Looks like we have mini Monroe Doctrine. Alright, I'll jump back into org. So it looks like we have a sort of mini Monroe Doctrine brewing. Now, players are on the honor system not to watch the stream, but it looks like, you know, we're going to be seeing it anyways in the Diplo section, that Team 1, you know, who has Brazil, has said, you know, we will get all of this South America, and you know, Team 2... Oh, wait, but that's North America. Did I get this right? Let's see, who is playing the United States? Brandon's playing the United States. Okay, so that was actually between teams... Okay, that was between teams 1 and 3 then. My mistake. It looks like they might have joined different chat groups than they were supposed to, but that's fine. But if that's the case... then it looks like, you know, Team 3 has negotiated a pretty good deal for themselves, as well as, you know, being able to secure all of this down here is a huge boon, because this is way more infamy and GDP than, you know, Mexico, but they also have a sort of non-aggression thing going on. It looks like they're not going to put it in chat, so they are free to backstab. You know, Team 3 might be listening to the stream. That is correct. But I think there's no way for me to enforce that realistically, you know, which creates a sort of weird situation. You know, there's no prize support of any kind. I don't have a way to police it, and so it sounds like Breaking War Goals sounds like an obvious exploit. You know, you think it sounds obvious, but we will see how obvious it is to people. It doesn't look like there's too many wars going on. We have Afghanistan being occupied here. After, you know, the 5-ish year mark, we are going to look to update the GDPs, because currently we have everyone sitting at, you know, their starting GDP in regards to the situation. Two Sicilies has gotten a thing in Niger, an interest in Niger. I think we will just expel their diplomats. Very classy. Very, very classy. We are playing as Go Beer, but we are just really not doing anything here. We're playing as Go Beer so that way we can look through the tech tree and this sort of thing, but we are really not going to do anything substantive unless someone annexes us, I guess. Then we will be moving to a new country. We will be moving away. 5% sounds like the cost of doing business. I wanted it to be such that it was prohibitive to some degree, but also made sense to be an option. But what I really like about this format is 3v3v3, right? And what I really like is the tripedal balance element, which is that if one player is running away with it, or one team is running away with the bag, you know, then the other two teams can team up against them and try and, you know, go after them and this sort of thing. And it looks like Two Sicilies has colonized Togo. Looks like the Two Sicilies is making some moves. I don't think they start off, and they also went after Greece here. And so that is who they have selected. I think they could have gotten away with, you know, well, actually, so the players might have warned or messaged the team with the Brazilian, Russia, and Australia, or Austria, might have warned people that, hey, you know, if you mess with this sphere, we're gonna have some problems, which was actually fantastic to them. This is so much GDP potential, so much GDP growth, especially if Brazil is annexing and you can flood these subsistence farms, which makes it so that Russia can go agriculture. Now, I'm not sure Russia is going agriculture. I think everyone's just going chops. But if Russia decides to go really agricultural heavy, right? What normally one of the problems is it creates unemployment. These are fully employed. When you employ them up, it goes down by 5K, right? If you are in the same market as Brazil, which is now in the Russian market, then you can siphon off the pops and you can distribute them to the New World. And so this New World, I assume this is their idea, their strategy, you know, is New World focused. Really cool to see, you know, different teams identifying different things as being important. Like, Team 1 is like, hey, migration and the New World, like, effect that they have a bunch of empty sub-farms. We're going to go the two most populous European states because they do not discriminate. You can make it so Brazil doesn't discriminate. And we are going to try and allow them to siphon off pops either from one of our markets or both of their markets. Brazil could switch to a different market if they want, you know, to Austria's market. And so this could allow them to siphon off. We have 36 million pops and also here 58 million pops. And so also I think that, you know, Great Qing is really, really nice because you have cheap labor for forever. But with the scope we're going for like 2.5 hours, Russia kind of has cheap labor for forever, you know, for the equivalent like situation. And so this is what's going on. Looks like Prussia's finally going to enforce over here on Denmark and start solving that problem. I assume that they might be trying to play low infamy. Let's take a look at what wars people are doing. So for Team 1, which is Russia, Austria, and Brazil, let's take a look at any wars they have. They are a part of the war versus Bolivia. That seems a little gratuitous, but maybe they just want to end it a little faster. I think that, you know, well, actually, they're also going after Caucand, I assume, here. And so that's okay. That seems fine. And they are notably creating a pocket, which I really like this, because now only they will be able to go after Bukhara and Khiva, so they lock it in. And so this is pretty nice. I also really like, you know, going after Persia early on. I think they might have the highest GDP of a power you can go after. One war in particular I'm shocked to not see is the transfer of the Dutch East Indies. It looks like everyone's trying to play relatively low infamy if they're not doing that. And it looks like Joey's making money moves here. Asking someone from the other team to talk. Now let's see which team that person is on. So it looks like they are from Team 2, which drafted France, Prussia, or are they? No, it looks like people are in the wrong spot. So it looks like they're from Team 3. Too Many Ducks is, in fact, who the negotiation's happening with. That is Great Britain. So it looks like currently, perhaps the diplomat, Joey, or, you know, who is Joey playing as here? I can't quite see. So if Earthrat is Brazil, and if Austria is Paul, so Joey must be playing Russia. So Russia's negotiating with the UK here about... I'm not sure. I also, the fact that someone can be sniping makes me want to kind of look at it less. But it's interesting to speculate what they could be talking about here. You know, I think that... Ooh, maybe it's something to do here? I wonder what Russia could be trying to get here. Oh, I'm so curious. Looks like Prussia is going after Hesse-Kassel, and so they are focused on unification here. This is notably a really important one to do because it links their two markets together. So they might be trying to do the rest diplomatically and that part militarily. They do have, you know, Austria to contend with, but not for forming the North German Fed, which looks like they're like well on their way to doing. I think we will kind of zoom out here and I will update some of the GDPs. And so we will take a look at first Team 1. Let's take a look at their updated GDP, 39.7 million. And we will put it in. And then I suppose we should swap over here. And we are going to put in Austria. Or is Russia, Austria, which 28.9 billion, or billion, that'd be insane, 28.9. They have grown quite a bit here. So Austria is flying. And Brazil, let's see how their growth. They started at 5.8, and now they're up to 7.13. We're just going to round that. We'll to 7.1. And so a very respectable, you know, scores so far of 8 million GDP grown. Let's take a look at France. Now France is at 34.5 million. So they've grown quite a bit, 34.5. Prussia, and I'm very excited to see when they form the North German Fed what this does to their GDP, because this might be, you know, this strategy might be very strong of going for unifications. They've gone up to 14.3, and then finally two Sicilies. Let's see, their GDP is nearly doubled from 4.7 to, well, I guess that's not really nearly doubled. They've gone to 6.6 though. So they have a GDP growth of 10 million, so Team 2 is currently edging out. Now let's see what the situation is with Team 3, which drafted Qing. So they have 152 million here, or 153. We're getting this in real time. And so just Qing's growth is already be a bit of a problem. So Qing might have been a little bit of a sleeper pick because of their potential for growth. We have 24.1 from the USA and from the UK, which represents a decent amount of growth, you know, 5 million growth. Now, why is that not calculated correctly? That number is not calculated correctly. And the UK is up to 62 million. Did they annex? No, they're up to 61.7. Wow, what a huge GDP growth. They are absolutely cranking off if this is what's going. And so let's take a look here. And this has to equal a sum. Oop. I swear I know how to use Microsoft Excel. Or it's not Excel. We got international trade, boys. And we will do this. That is not the way it's supposed to be. Oh, because this is not the way it's supposed. Oh, because everything was all messed up. And so this is actually equal to this. Oh my god. Alright. Sorry for the technical difficulties, everyone. We are currently experiencing our first 3v3. V3? Okay. So that looks a little bit more reasonable. This number is still off, but we can come back to the percentage growth later. But this is the current state of affairs. And so Team 3 is way out in the lead. We're going to let them know and see what happens. That's a wild score differential, though. And I'm expecting that we're going to see a let's talk after this kind of goes through. So Team 2 is 10.2 million. Let's make sure we got this right. So this is D10. This is F18. Yeah, these look correct. These look correct. Okay, 10.2. I'm very shocked no one took, no one took the East India Company. Also, just huge growth on the part of China. And I am expecting to see fireworks following this. Because, I mean, what else can you do? 49.8 million? But that might shake things up a little bit. We will see. If there is a let's talk after this little Diplo situation has been updated to everyone. Is Denmark a graphical glitch? It probably is at this point. What's the most important factor that attracts migration? It is going to be your unused arable land. Is going to be kind of the most important, but this is going to be a feature that is not present for most people. But the unused arable land modifier is kind of the biggest. After that, standard of living, and then unavailable employment is also going to be pretty big. You can see the other players doing diplomatically, they're improving relations with and such. I can. Denmark is Prussian now. Denmark is Prussian now, but they're bugged out is what he's saying, because they are. But we cannot save and reload, or this is not, that feasible. But Brandon's curious how they have so much GDP. It's mainly off the back of Qing. And I am very curious to see, how they decide to shake this out. I wonder if... Because Qing grew 18 million... the UK's growth is absolutely insane. And I don't know what these spikes were. Was this in... Have they been annexing people? Or just updating PMs? Just huge GDP spikes from them. And they still have the East India Company in their back pocket, so they don't even have to go after this. But I'm wondering what these spikes are about here. Because they started at, 36 million. And then they've grown up quite a bit, plus 25 million in pretty short time period. Are they in the wrong channels? Yes, they are. Yes, they are. We will explain. UK and China have big growth. Or I'm horribly mistaken about which team is which. But yeah, just very, very strong draft from UK and China. And, well, to get Qing, USA, and China, and the Also, the UK should be having problems they're currently not. And they should be having problems with the East India Company, or part of their draft should be the East India Company, and they are not experiencing any problems, And so what they have is, I'm guessing these GDP pop-ups are the result of PM swapping. That's the only thing I can kind of make sense of. But they do have quite a bit of, industry at the start of the game. And so when you swap, these PMs up, that's a pretty big game. And, they have a lot of people to eat their goods. And so they have pretty stable demand for goods. Yeah. Brandon was a little concerned playing the USA that somehow they were absolutely getting crushed in terms of the GDP. But now I think that the diplomatic situation has changed, I think, for teams 1 and 2. or it should change, recognizing that they have 1/5 of the score of Team 3, and so they got to try and figure things out. They annexed near India, I think, but that's the only one I see. East India ooh, yeah, that's right. They did annex this. You were correct. This represents an enormous population, which has an enormous amount of sub-farms, right? Which are fully full, and this is actually, you are right on the money. This is probably really the source of their GDP. Like, if we just hover, like, GDP and take a look there, that is probably where the biggest chunk is coming from. You just played a command economy. How... Command economy old? What? You get money in there, but demand for products somehow no longer understandable because everything is in the plus. For command economy? You mean everything gets cheap? Everything should get cheap when you go command economy because there's less consumption. Looks like Joey wants to talk with Dare Blue and Stay Frosty, and I am very confident this is a result of, you know, this is talk between Team 1 and 2, so that's Team 1, Russia, who Joey is playing as, is looking to talk with Team 2, which is France, Prussia, Sicily, and they're going to say, hey, you know what? We got to talk because there are some problems here. You know, with one, just kind of moving back to what the score is, as I drink my definitely not piss. It's Red Bull. Not in a Red Bull container. You know, they have about 20% of the GDP growth. And they do have some annexations coming on the back burner and this sort of thing. But I think it was a mistake to leave East India Company on the table. I think that if Team 2 instead had East India Company, they would have been... First of all, they could have actually gone after the Sikh Empire, which is a little interesting. I wonder... How did they even get the access to there? Oh, they did it with China. So China's the reason that they were able to push in here. That is so very interesting, because UK doesn't have access here, and they don't have access through the East India Company because it's a dominion, right? But because China was involved in this, they have that, and this is probably just an incredibly strong strat, taking any high pop province, because you have, you know, coming in, the way it's scored, it really rewards you picking up sub-farms. But we're gonna see if, you know, like, there's this very significant effort of Teams 1 and 2 to possibly go after here, and we see our first province trade here. This is what I was talking about earlier. We see that the US has picked up a Chinese province, which gives them a bunch of GDP, and they can also build this out, and eventually, super long term, they can use it for migration, but I'm expecting to see a Chinese province... Oh, nope. The idea behind, you know, getting a Chinese province over here is that there's a bunch of unused arable land, and so when China experiences a ton of unemployment, you just dump your pops into here if you own this as China, and so it represents an enormous potential for, like, dealing with, you know, kind of GDP problems. Bulgaria was released here. Looks like Austria is fighting Greece, so that's Austria's fighting Greece? Uh-oh. What's going on here, then? Yeah? So it looks like Austria is going after Bulgaria, and they want to liberate Venice from France. No! Why are you fighting? Why are they fighting? Make them stop. So Teams 1 and 2 are fighting, while Team 3 is in a just crushing lead. I don't know how I feel about this. I think that... you know what? Maybe this is what they're talking about. Maybe they're just going to, you know, let them puppet Bulgaria and not really actually enforce this liberate Venice, and the other team will roll over. We'll see. You mean with command economy you have all balances in the plus at 300 GDP, but there's hardly any demand, so it depresses demand. What goes on in command economy, and let's actually swap over to the Diplo thing, see if we can do anything. Can you join talks to see if it's about Team 3? You cannot join the talks. You just see if they're about Team 3. They'll invite you if they want you. I'll probably add that. They'll invite you, my guy. But I'm guessing that it is actually over this conflict here, where Austria's like, hey, we don't want to have an existential war. But it looks like Two Sicilies is getting occupied. So it looks like they're doing some bridge burning here. What are the teams? So for Team 1, we have Russia, Austria, and Brazil, who I think is going to be kind of exploring a strategy of, you know, using migration to fill the sub-farms over here to prevent Russian unemployment, and perhaps also using Russia to breadbasket Austria and Brazil. Because normally when you build over a bunch of farms, what you have is you cause a lot of unemployment because you fire people in the subsistence farms, but the fired pops can just migrate to Brazil. So that's Team 1. Team 2, we have Prussia, France, and Two Sicilies, who I think strategy is based on accumulating a lot of GDP through unification without going high infamy, which I think is good. And interesting, I just think Two Sicilies is a little bit weak as a draft pick.
Can you?
But yes.
Can you join negotiation?
Yes, I can. Things are a little spicy. Alright, what's going on? You're on stream, by the way.
Okay. Alright, we made a deal to where Two Sicilies will white peace Bulgaria, and we'll give them Egypt, but can you swap over to Bulgaria to white peace them?
Can I swap over to Bulgaria to white peace them?
Yeah, because they're AI. We don't want it, yeah.
It's declared
Yeah,
on
we don't
Bulgaria, right? And that's the reason? I hadn't considered this as a possibility. We will do it for now, but I do have to try and decide whether or not I will do this in the future. But it makes sense. But you guys just want the white peace, and you cannot negotiate because Bulgaria is the leader. So I just proposed white peace here.
Thank you.
Yep. Alright.
I'll go tell Austria.
Alright.
And I'll swap back to Go Beer, where I belong. And then also rejoin organization. Okay, so that was about that, and it was not about the, you know, impending doom of Team 3 being absolutely enormous. So, back to what I was saying with which teams are which. For Team 2, we kind of have this unification strategy with Prussia, Two Sicilies, and France. And Team 3, I think, got the best of the draft. They got Qing, UK, and USA, without anyone else drafting the East India Company. And so in their back pocket, because the score is based on GDP growth, nominal GDP growth, they have an enormous potential here because they can annex the East India Company and just assimilate this GDP, basically. And so I don't know, I think Team 1 and 2 need to try and organize together somehow to try and figure out how to deal with this, and they have about half the session remaining, and so they have to find some way to really brick Team 3's, you know, kind of stranglehold. Otherwise, Team 3 will be winning the session. Now, probably going to do a vote on the YouTube channel, whether or not people want to see a continuation of the same game next week, the same game with the same players, the same game with new players on the same team, or a new game. But this is the current state of affairs, where, you know, Great Qing is kind of, to some degree, Great Qing in UK, I think that the strategy here was, taking this was just very, very, very strong, because this represents such a big chunk of GDP, but also, you know, there are other spikes in Great Britain as well. Looks like they're going after, I don't know what this is, okay, they're not involved in this, but it looks like AI things are occurring, right? But yeah, I will be curious to see, also something here, that you can maybe see off the side, the taking on of debt. This is a very interesting strategy where if whoever has the best interest rate, everyone should bankroll that person, and then that person in turn takes on the debt. And so we're seeing UK help stymie the USA here by taking on their debt. I don't know if the UK has a better interest rate, but it's possible, you know, that they are specifically researching the society tech that gives better interest rate, like central banking and mutual funds and this type of thing, just so that they can have a more efficient loan thing. And so maybe UK runs this enormous deficit. You know, if we try and take on their debt, we can see if they have oh, we can't take let's take a look. They have a debt of 500,000 here, and so it looks like they have taken on some debt, and they might also be bankrolling Great Qing, which I think is probably better, because I think Great Qing's on a per construction to GDP growth base, Great Qing might be stronger than other countries. And so getting Qing to collapse probably totally wreck Team 3 if they can manage that. I agree, and I think they need to start a war to release Yue, like Zaibei and Mongolia. Unfortunately, you can only release one at a time, right? And so I think they need to start a war to release Yue with one of their players, or like... Yeah, I think there needs to be a concerted effort, and you can't look to take provinces. If you try and take provinces, what will happen is you see USA. USA does have a truce with Great Qing, right? So the USA can't do this, but UK can declare war on Great Qing and just take your war goals and brick the war without needing to, without needing to, like, you can just back down as the Qing once you've given what the primary war goals are to the other team. And so release subject is going to be a bigger part of it. They are also, being careful to not get too high in infamy, so they can't be cut down to size. The UK specifically needs to not start any more wars, though, if they want to try and be able to annex the East India Company and not be cut down to size. But I'm thinking that they are just planning on annexing them in the last year of the game, or in the last 10 minutes. To be going for this annex, or the last 15 minutes. They'll have to time it right, but they can make it so that there won't be an opportunity to release. Maybe the winners go on to play against another 2 new teams, but they have to handicapped. I'm not sure I like that, because they are going to be in a way better position already. Because they will have accumulated a lot. Bricking should be banned. No, I want this to be full powered. You can't, so you can only brick so many, right? And it's based on truces. And so if 2 teams want to take stuff off of you, Qing already has a truce with USA, right? So USA cannot brick war goals, only UK. And so if you have 2 wars, but you can also release subjects. And so releasing subject is a harder one to brick, because if we go release UA as part of our war goals, it's going to be releasing all of this. And we do release UA, pay war reps on one, and on another war it's release Mongolia, pay war reps. You can significantly kneecap them, but players need to identify, this kind of in time. I think I've seen a general join voice chat. Nope, that was old. That was old. But they do need to address it sometime soon. I will probably be giving an updated to the score in about 9 minutes or so. But let's just take a look at, what the wars are for each team. So for team, or actually, let's start with Team 1. Team 1, we got Russia. It looks like they are not involved in this war, but this is part of their team, where Brazil is continuing to puppet, and it looks like they're going to go through some more puppets and then probably look to come back and annex any of their puppets here. And they're looking to puppet here, Ecuador. I think they got a pretty good deal with Team 3, where they are just taking all of South America here. And so we'll see how that goes. So we have Brazil in that war, and then Austria might be just chilling. Yeah, Austria is just chilling. Looks like they are not involved in that war. And so that's Team 1. Team 2 is France, Prussia, and France, Prussia, and 2 Sicilies. Looks like France is going after some more of, North Africa here. 2 Sicilies is not involved in the play, and Prussia is not involved in the play, so relatively peaceful. And then we have the UK here. The UK, who is They're colonizing our territory. The UK, who does not appear to be involved in anything. Great Qing is going after Dainam. They're going after subjugation. I actually don't like this subjugation, I don't think. I think just conquering the 3 provinces would be better. But the subjugation's okay. It's good for keeping the infamy down. I think you need to avoid getting over 100 infamy, but getting up to that is not too bad, so maybe this is fine. And then the USA is also chilling, I think. Oh, nope, they're not chilling. They decided they wanted... Oh, no, wait, this is a chill. This is a get colonized type of chill. And so that's the current state of affairs with regards to war. It looks like Russia started one against Khiva here. So it looks like they're trying to reign in this area. Going to be probably seeing an annex on Persia soon. And so it's important to keep an eye on, Persia is one of the bigger subjects that has been created since the start of the game. Hello there, you discovered me this week and have found tutorial content very helpful and high quality. You're welcome. Thank you for helping me. You are welcome. Yeah, tournament sounds like a cool idea. How long will the session go today? We are going to go 2.5 hours. We have people in Europe who haven't slept in a while, so we are hard locked on 2.5 hours. The people have to know of this depravity as we drink our definitely not piss water. We will be going 2.5 hours. If we run another start game, we might just commit to doing up to like 3.5 hours or 20 years, because I don't think we'll get 20 years. And you basically have you have opportunities for 2 PvP wars against any given player, with kind of the time scale that is currently going on. But I'm still shocked to see no one expanding in South Africa to pick up this, especially people who are trying to low infamy expand. And also, Team 3 very graciously gave up all of South America, which is generally a good expansion. Or they agreed, north-south split after USA had already taken Mexico. So, I think that was a very good deal for, Team 1. But I think that the teams have got to try and figure it out. China is also in UK's market. I imagine they should be it, and they are. If we take a look, we can take a look at the markets. And so this is the current state of affairs. Brazil's in Russia's market looking to siphon off Russian pops, which I think the Brazil and Russia picks together definitely make a lot of sense. I think Brazil is, if we come to the power rankings that we had set up before, we had Brazil at 14, but I think Brazil is consistent with the Russia strategy. You just would have preferred to get it with not with, you would have preferred to get it with USA, Russia, but Russia was first pick and they drafted Russia first, and then USA was drafted before Austria, and Austria was left over. I think Austria is a fine pickup at pick 7, right, because they had first team had picks 1, 7, and 8, and so they picked up Austria, and then they went Brazil, and I mean they probably could have gone East India Company though. It's just, I imagine players are a little spooked to draft this once UK has been picked, is the thing. Because they don't want to get annexed, they don't want, this sort of thing, and it's painful. I think we'll jump to the score overlay and look to update the GDPs of everybody, though. And people can also be going for pump jacks, as I mentioned earlier. That's one of the best, techs for just growing your GDP. So Russia, who started with a GDP of 38 million, is up to 44.9. So we will put that in. Austria, this is team 1 we're going through. Austria, which started at a GDP of 23 million, is making big gains to 35.1. And Brazil, let's see Brazil. Brazil's doing a lot of subjugating out here. They are up to 7.99, and they started at 5.8. So let's put that in. And so the total GDP growth of Team 1 is 20 million, 20.79 million. For Team 2, we have France, whose GDP is up to 35.2. So not too much growth in the last period. Also, this is from a start of 28 million. And then in Prussia, we have a growth from 14 to 18.2. And this was from a start of 12.1. And then finally we have Sicily, who is currently engaged in a war that might do some big moves, but they are at 7.2 million, so up about $500 million. And we'll see, they will probably be looking pretty good after they form Italy, if they can try and form Italy. But, you know, I think that they kind of have to work together with Team 1 against Team 3 at some point. And, you know, the time is kind of, I think, getting nigh, because it might take multiple wars to knock these guys down a peg, unless they are... So they might be specializing industry in just one spot in Great Qing, in which case, just removing that province will really shellac Great Qing, right? And so this is a potential weakness, you know, going after... Maybe they're encouraging resources. No, they're not encouraging resources here. Yeah, so Great Qing's GDP is 171 million, up like another 20 million. And so Great Qing is really starting to look like what would be the first pick, or teams need to unify against Great Qing. So we'll update that. And so up from 134 million at the start of the game, up a total of 36 million. USA, we have 31 million. And this is up 7 million with a start of 18.8. So we'll put in 31.2. And for the UK, which had enormous growth last session, let's see what they're at. They're at 73.8 for another growth of like 12 million or 74 million. Obviously, it's updating in real time, so like it is slightly lagged. But we will give the teams the update. So they are closing the gap on the score. It's no longer 5x, but it is particularly, I think, still worrisome. So we will give a score update here for the rest of them so that they can know. Team 1 is at, let's see, 20.8. We'll just round up. Team 2 is at, let's see, 15.4. And Team 3 is at a whopping 87. Point 2. And that is the score update. We're trying to do that every 45 minutes, which will give them, this will be, I think, the last score update before kind of close to the end. But we'll see what they have to say after this score update, if they want to, you know, start negotiating at all. They, I think, absolutely need to declare on Team 3 collectively and try and figure out the best way to break them apart. Why not Pits Water? Can we see who's making the most clothes? I actually do not know how to check this. But my guess would be the UK. So, well, I know like a not very good way of checking. If we hover prestige and then we go over current prestige and we look at leading goods producer, we will see they're the #1 producer of luxury clothes and they're the #2 producer of clothes. If that answers your question to some extent. You had planned, you would play USA for a long time today, wanted to do cooperative ownership with revolutions as soon as possible, but then you had no money for buildings, big Sag. Cooperative ownership is pretty good, but it's good once you pass like 1.2 billion GDP. I think laissez-faire is better before then. Nice of you to do this. Suggestion for next one, only allow European powers plus USA in the teams. Ones that already start recognized. Qing is starting to recognize doesn't make too much sense. What are you talking about? Makes total sense. Yeah, this is... But this also implies that Japan is a much stronger pick too. I think I'm going to keep it. I want the game to be as fully powered as possible, because I think that in terms of what my channel is directed towards in terms of brand is like kind of min-maxing and like strong play, and I want to allow as much as possible. But it might just be the case that teams, whichever team doesn't get Great Qing, maybe Great Qing is a problem. But also UK has enormous GDP growth too, right? And there's some countries that are slumping a little bit that I think you could have much stronger growth with. And so it's not necessarily indicative of just player or of just country dominance, but it might be player skill as well. Because remember, we just selected 9 players and there was no like qualifier or something like this. And so it's just 9 different players. You really think I should do a relaxed gameplay while this occurs? You mean build more chops? I don't want to influence things. Oop, looks like we have a pause, and I'm assuming this is a war pause. France. Negotiation. Someone says no. Someone is objecting here. And France has joined here after 70%. Alright, we're gonna unpause here. And that's what this is about. Mexico is being supported by France, and this makes an enormous amount of sense here. Player 3, or Team 3, is already way in the lead with USA, China, and, you know... what's funny is, I think they did agree, but they didn't put it down in the writing, and so I'm not sure if we're going to do a 5% penalty or not, because anything that is in the Diplo chat is a 5% penalty. But I think they did agree. Oh, no, wait, that was Team 1, not Team 2. Team 1 made an agreement, but it was a handshake agreement that you get the North, I get the South, and we have here... what this looks like what is a very strong play here, or what France should do, right, given the situation where Team 3 is running away with it. Let's see, currently there's negotiation between, I think this is Team 1 and Team 3 that's currently negotiating here, because yes, this is what's going on. But yeah. But player war time. Yeah, exactly. So we will see how this shakes out. We'll zoom in a little bit here. I forgot to say thank you for making this happen and you enjoy the videos. Well, I'm glad you enjoy the videos. I'm so excited about this. I think this format's wide open. Like, I think single players, like, I feel like I wouldn't want to say I've solved it, but I think I've like 80 to 90% solved it, and so it's like less interesting to try and like min-max. Then this seems just wide open. I don't know what's best. The scoring system like should be something other than GDP, but GDP for me was just the best and simplest. I would love to keep mod prestige so that prestige tracks score in a good way, but currently it doesn't. Naval blockade UK, I think that's also going to be a big one because it's going to wreck China's economy. But China can just leave the market, but we'll see if they make their market too imbalanced. But I think building ships at the very end is going to be strong as well. Release East India Company might not kneecap them as much as you would think because it's not currently calculated in their GDP. And oh snap, it just got real. Yeah, and, they... just after the score date, too, or the score update, I think is very... it's very telling that this is occurring. And, Team 2's strategy of going for this, if they can negotiate with Team 1, hey, look, we just want a couple of these provinces, we'll give you provinces from someone else. Like, Austria shouldn't be, like, married to these provinces. Well, maybe the one that's producing guns. Looks like, are we running some subsidies here? We are running some subsidies here. Okay. Okay, I see you. But, yeah, it's just, because they are looking to try and get unification to boost GDP, right? Which is going to allow them to integrate pretty well. It looks like the bug up here is solved. I'll stop looking over here. But it looks like the USA is pushing into Mexico, so maybe they negotiated something. Some sort of agreement here. Or France just didn't put anyone in? Let's take a look at the overview. There's way more mobilized for Mexico. But what's going on? Why is this going so poorly? Oh, this is a landing. Yeah, you can't stop that. Yep. Another thing is landings in PvP, but let's zoom out a little. France should also be looking to land the USA as well. But this is the beginning of the breakdown of the peace dividend for all teams. You want the third team to profit from the war? I think that is generally what happens, but if there are if Team 1 agrees to go to war with Team 3, and Team 2 agrees to go to war with Team 3, who's crushing right now, let's jump back into, you know, the little Diplo or the score overlay. Team 3 is crushing right now, right? And so the players can agree to go after them, because USA is about to pick up 6 million GDP, right? Can't let them do that. And so, yeah. Also, you can throw the whole meta by changing the goal to GDP per capita growth, for example, although that example would favor small nations. Yeah, I don't want to... So, I don't want to do GDP growth percentage, because then, for example, you could... or team GDP growth percentage. That was another idea that would have maybe worked, but currently... Also, interesting to see this only be a 1v1 here, and not a 2v2, a 2v1, or a 3v3, this type of thing. But yeah, there's not a whole lot you can do to prevent Mexico here. Really hoping in 1.4 they allow you to move battalions to your allies, because if France could have just stationed battalions, you know, in this strategic region down here, in Mexico, and also in Central America, but maybe just Mexico, then this would have prevented, you know, this type of huge landing situation. And you know, France is not, let's see, okay, that was an accidental unpause. France is not landing the USA either here, and they could, and so they probably should, but in the end I think USA is going to get a hold of Mexico, and also Team 3 is going to be mad at Team 2 here, I have to imagine. Looks like we get some upsetting news from Team 2, who is perhaps upset that they did not also get involved in this. But let's actually just take... Oh, what is this? That's what this is over. We are seeing Conquer Silesia being initiated by Austria, which I don't think is... I think you gotta... Yeah, I think that... this anger is a little well-founded. I think Silesia is really good, though. Let's be real. One of the best states in the game. I get it. You're just eyeing it from across the room, and you're like, ooh, baby, I like that. It looks like that pause was temporary, but this will be likely an existential war, and Team 3 is even joining here, you know, on the side of Austria. So it's Austria, Russia, and the UK versus Prussia, France, and that's it. And so this is going to be, you know, you can still back down. This is allowed. Just giving up Conquer Silesia and West Prussia. And they have war reparations, war reparations, war reparations. Did not put anything substantive in terms of infamy. I assume they're expecting to lose this war. But yeah, I don't like this. I don't like this play from Team 1 here to go after Team 2, because this isn't even a join. This is unprovoked. because Team 3 is now looking extraordinarily strong. They're very much in the driver's seat in regards to this, and so. We're going till noon PST. We're going to give one more GDP update, but I'm hoping that they just actually decide to white piece this, which this might be what happens. This seems fine, but they might not be able to white piece Great Britain out. Great Britain is a player. And so let's see, what could they negotiate here? Well, Britain doesn't have any war goals. So what's actually funny is Austria and Russia could capitulate, and then it would just be a 1v1 versus UK versus Prussia. Now, I don't think Prussia wins that, but I think that it is... I think I kind of want to know what's being said here. Oh, there's no negotiation. No attempts for peace. No mercy. Okay. I see you. Damn, well, this is... Well, let's see. Has this war finished up? I guess France... Also, why is France not in this Prussia war? Oh, they are? They're just... Okay, got it. They are in this Prussia war. But very, very... I don't know if... Team 3 negotiated this, where they would join, but very heads up for them to kind of pull France back from beating up the USA a little bit, because, yeah, and now things just look very, very grim. And I think that, well, so here's a possibility. Maybe Team 1 is just way smarter than... Maybe Team 1 has decided they're fighting for second place here, right? In which case, this seems like a reasonable play, taking Silesia, because after Silesia is where... So, this is some strategy that was I discussed with these players beforehand, is building up in one place. Normally you do this as in PvE. They have a level 36 iron mine here. Normally you do this and it's very strong, and you just do encourage manufacturing, or you encourage resource industries. We see it here. This is smart. But it leaves you very vulnerable to states being taken. I hope that Prussia just gets, let's see... Italy to declare war on them, because you can break the war goals here, right? We have conquer Silesia and conquer West Prussia. What they should have done is have Italy declare war on Prussia for these exact things, and then you just back down, and you give up those war goals. And so Prussia could still brick the war goals here, which is a little bit of a missed opportunity, but we'll see. Reminds you of stages of the Three Kingdoms. I'm a huge fan of the Three Kingdoms era, and that's where the ideal of balancing... Victoria 3 is just horribly unbalanced, but if you can balance with the tripedal idea, of, the balance of three powers, this is how you do it. But I'd be very excited to see Italy take Prussian dirt here, because this is how you stay in the game, right? Russia and Prussia have a DP, yeah. Truth hurts. Huge bottleneck because you have less pops. For Prussia? Specifically? Maybe. Prussia might have been a really good draft alongside... I think Austria is better than Prussia, but I think I can tell where they're coming from with the unification strategy. It's just not going the best. Yeah, it looks like it's kind of gifting Team 3, but it makes sense if you're fighting for second. If you've decided that you can't get first. Team 1 has done an irrational move. It's not irrational if you think you're fighting for second. UK can now block any negotiation for this war? No, because you can just capitulate. And also you could just stand defensively. But, I mean... Yeah. What are the specs on my computer? Not the best, not the worst. It's Jovier. Later stages, 3 kingdoms, 2 weakest kingdoms fight against the other one. Yeah, that's what needs to happen. Fighting for second is fighting for number 1 loser. Hey man, I'd rather be number 1 loser than number 2 loser, you know what I'm saying? But, yeah, after this, it's looking grim. We're gonna, in a few minutes, update the score. Just for those who are, like, joining now. You know, these are the current scores, where, you know, roughly speaking, Team 2 actually has the greatest percentage of GDP growth. And this looks pretty tight in terms of percentage of GDP growth, so this may be the way to score it next time. Percent GDP growth of your team rather than nominal GDP growth. But Team 1 is running away with this, and I think that, you know, taking this was really, really, really nice. But it's not like the biggest chunk of... This isn't why they're winning, but this, going after this huge arable land is super good. But they just... they need to release provinces from Qing, and they need to do it. You don't have much time remaining, and yeah, it looks like UK is even landing Prussia. Prussia really needs to break the war goals here, but I don't know if they have that in mind, you know. And so, yeah, that's like the only way this team makes it out of this alive is if they use Italy to break the war goals, which I think is fantastic for Italy. But I assume this is Team 1 deciding to fight for second. Or Team 1's just made a bad move here. But in terms of just increasing your raw GDP a lot, this will increase your raw GDP a lot, but you've now made if you completely kneecap Team 2 by ruining Prussia, right? Let's see, West Prussia is the other thing that's been going for. So let's see, is there a bunch of... No, I don't know why they're going after West Prussia. This doesn't make too much sense. Because it's not like that's where they're building their manufactories or something. Like, they should have gone Brandenburg. Don't know why these were the 2 war goals, but... Do you think that there should have a small penalty to GDP score gained from countries that start unrecognized? We could do that. That would be a reasonable way to alter it. But, like, also, UK has more GDP growth than either of the other 2 teams combined, I think, at this point. But, like, it's also, like, look... UK is, like, super... I mean, UK seems to be flying and playing quite well. So, like, I don't necessarily want to say it's... and you know what's funny is UK was actually the alternate. They were not one of the early signups. But you think percentage is better because when you change PMs, the relative increase in production is approximately the same? And percentage might be better. This is a bit of a learning experience to some extent. Why don't they encircle Prussia? It looks like they're about to. It looks like they're on here. It looks like, what is this? Okay, who's... Okay. Yeah, because France is on one side of this, they can't declare war on Prussia, obviously. And so, really need the 2 Sicilies to do this, like, exploitative breaking of war goals here. But we're gonna update the score, and we're gonna take a look at Diplo. Yeah, it looks like Ghostmaster is pissed. That makes sense. I think they are gonna conquer your land. I don't. Yeah, I mean, there's no sense in doing this if your intention is anything other than conquering the land. But we might have to. And it's unfortunate. Like, Silesia is the place to build. Like, I don't hate this, but man, oh man. Well, you probably shouldn't be building anymore now, knowing that these are the war goals. But, yeah. Brazil's expanding okay though. And so it's teams 1 and 3 kind of splitting up team 2 at this point. Let's get an updated score on all these. So we have Russia, who started with 38 million is now up to 48 million, up from 44 last session, or last check. We have Austria, which is up to 42.6 million, so up 7 million, which is pretty good. 42.8. And then also Brazil, which is at 8.65, which is not the biggest gain. But they also, I'm thinking that percentage is probably the way to look. And Brazil has a decent percentage growth kind of thing going on. Let's take a look at now France for Team 2, starting with Team 2. They have 34 million GDP for a GDP loss. This might be because they are currently, engaged in some wars that are not very fruitful. We have Prussia before this kneecapping is up to 21 million, or 21.8. And so they have decent GDP growth, but of course they're about to get shellacked. We have two Sicilies here, which is up to 8.54. We're just going to round to 8.5. And so it looks like Team 1 is pulling away in the second place contention. Now, we have Xing here, which is up to 187, so not as big a growth as last times. But we also have USA, which is up from 31 million. They started the game at 18.2, so they've doubled their GDP. They're up to 40.2 million. And a big part of this is, of course, the annexation of Mexico. And then also we have the UK here, which is at 78.3. So not a very big growth, UK, after, kind of having enormous growth in the early game. Currently, the leader for percentage growth is the UK, though, at 216%, followed by USA at 213%, and the third biggest growth for their team, in terms of percentage, is actually Sicily, with 180.8%. So that is the current state of affairs. Let's jump into the overlaid score, and we will see the updated score here. We will let the players know the updated score as well. So 32.25, 19.1. And 19.1, 116.5. 19.1, 116.5. And back to it. So let's just zoom in on this war. Probably should have left it a little bit zoomed. Looks like they're actually able to start pushing back. Maybe they're going to start some negotiation here. We'll see. Do you actually think there should be a small penalty to GDP score gain from countries that start... Okay, I already answered that. I think percentage is better. I do too. Yep. Don't they encircle Prussia by just taking the west part? It looks like that's what they were doing, or trying to do. But Prussia's pushed back actually pretty good. We see the war support as... Yeah, we can. Let's do that. Perfect. Yeah, Prussia's starting to get close to capitulating here. They probably should just capitulate. But, I mean, let's jump into the Diplo and see if anyone's responded to the scores. Yeah, and he's saying, I guess he won all the war goals. The writing's on the wall. Capitulating early is probably better. And so, even though he's not getting enforced on, he's just going to give it all up, which I think you should be doing. But here's the thing. I think Team 1 has... I think Team 1 has just locked in the scores here, I feel like. They have 45 minutes left. But it's hard to imagine, right? It is hard to imagine how Teams 1 and 2 collectively break up Teams 3 and it is impossible to imagine how they break it up at this point. Here, we'll just keep this score here. It is hard to imagine how they break up Team 3 at this point, given that one has made Team 2 upset. Demonstrably, 2 of their players are being upset in the Diplo chat, and this is, I think that this war kind of is locking it in. But it's interesting to see how, you know, the cross Diplo works. We will be jumping into, at some point, take a look, I think, at the spreadsheet. Is there a good way? There's not a good way for me to change my OBS settings without it looking funny. But with the bigger spreadsheet, we can show off specifically what's going on in regards to... with the bigger spreadsheet, we can show off what the GDP percentage growth rate is, and we can consider that a secondary score. The official score that they have played for and they have drafted for is just GDP growth. And Joey's informing him, yes, we are planning on enforcing all of them. Probably, well, they're about to capitulate anyways. They're at 97. And so next week, we will be seeing a huge change. And Prussia's kind of out of the game. You know, Italy's doing well, but they'll never form Italy. Or Two Sicilies is doing well, but they'll never form Italy. And we see an enforcement here and awkward for East Prussia here. And this is combined with the fact that France has not had the best GDP growth over the course of this game. We are seeing, you know, what looks like... okay, so there's actually some potential here. And I don't think it's going to happen. But Team 2 could decide that they want to king make Team 1. And if they want to do this, then they can make Team 1 the winner. But looks like Stay Frosty wants to talk with Paul. Let's double check who's on what team here. Stay Frosty is... So it looks like teams 1 and 2 are talking. And I imagine they might be trying to address the elephant in the room, which is the score. And the fact that Team 1 cannot catch up without kneecapping Team 3. It's just impossible. And they have to somehow try and fight Great Qing, USA, and the UK. And with their alliance being Russia, Austria, and Brazil. I don't think they have a strong military. And so I think they need help. Ghostmaster wants to forfeit. Let's see. If he drops, I might take over Prussia, because I don't think we... Or do we have another alternate? We do not have another alternate. Team 2 is lost. Without getting too involved in Diplo... We're also going to look like, I mean, chat seems to think that this is a better metric, and after looking at this game, I think it's potentially a better metric. It's going to make China way worse, but China's GDP growth has been insane over the course of this game, and so maybe percentage growth is just more appropriate. Could Team 1 declare Team 3 separate wars to release China's stuff? Yeah, they can. And so this would be the way you would try and do it. Of course, they would need to declare several separate wars, and China can break one of those wars, or at least one of those wars. But it's still something that is interesting and you could do, yeah. Because they can't break every war. right, and especially if it's like release UA, release Mongolia, and look to do this cut here, and potentially, you know, this can do it, especially if any building has been really occurring kind of in the back. Look, we have a tooling workshop here. Like, if you cut off the tooling workshop from market access, that's a really big deal. I don't know where they have been building up their mines and such, because they didn't do encourage manufacturing in Shaanxi and going for that, which I think probably would have been best, but looks like they don't actually have that much iron. It's just mainly wood focused. Are they really on wood frame building? I don't know if that's right, but okay. And let's see, updated what's going on in the Diplo. Yeah, Team 1 wins. The thing is, France went bankrupt, and I'm close to which means I can't replace resources I just lost. I'll be bankrupt. Team 3, Dare Blue says Team 3, sorry. Team 1 was playing for second place the entire time. Yeah, which I think is the correct evaluation here. That we just lost 50%, yikes, of their GDP. And so they're kind of seeing the writing on the wall here a little bit. That is rough. Yeah, that's like the danger of building tall specifically, is the loss of this. This is where it was at. That's a 36 iron mine. That is huge. So, can you join, can you see the war support as a spectator? Okay. The best would be to come up with some sort of scoring system that rewards warfare until, as well as GDP growth. Well, warfare gives you GDP growth, effectively. That would be super involved to create, though, because like the conquest of Punjab, for example, like bumped up the GDP by like of the UK by like 4 or 5 million. GDP's growth hasn't been stellar. For UK's GDP growth hasn't been stellar. You know, but the Team 2 can. I mean, Team 2 can decide that they want to kingmake, which is of course Prussia, France, and Sicily. Can decide they want to kingmake Team 1. I'd quit. Yeah, I mean, I understand the sentiment. If he quits, I will probably just hot join as Prussia and try and do my best. Because we don't have any more alternates right now. We are down to our last alternate, so. But I would rather be able to continue casting the game. I will let him know that it. Actually, I don't want to influence it. Actually, we are going to do a poll. We are going to do another poll here for chat. Should we encourage Team 2 to kingmake Team 1? We'll let that run a little bit. The draft, well, I think Team 2's draft wasn't. I understand the idea. I don't necessarily think it was. Well, so I think 2 Sicilies is just a little bit too weak, but the idea of 2 Sicilies was good. And so I don't want to necessarily bag on it. What's the problem with making prestige the goal? It rewards the building military too much. Actually, in the long run, GDP growth becomes exponential if there are no limitations of resources. So the bigger GDP at the start, the faster it will grow. I'm thinking that's to some degree the case, but so here's the thing. China has the most growth potential left unchecked. Checking China is really easy. They have a very, very weak military, but no one tried to oppose China. You know, East India Company, very, very strong, very huge GDP, went undrafted. And I think the not drafting East India, if I have to critique any of the drafts, it's teams 1 and 2 not drafting East India Company. Great Britain doesn't have to play a man, to be honest with you. The idea is to win with unifications, but Sicily and Prussia was greed without power levels. I think that also you have to. They could have drafted Austria, Sicily as well, but yeah, the idea is interesting. It's just like it didn't quite pan out. But like, look, the GDP of these guys is not inconsequential. And so if we did GDP growth percentage, these guys would become way stronger in draft. So I don't know if we'll switch to that and maybe just do GDP with the understanding that I guess China's probably going to be first picked moving forward. You know, with the 200 milli GDP. And let's see, has chat chosen violence? No, we don't want to encourage. Okay. So we'll end the poll. We'll let things just keep rolling as they are, rather than, you know, stinking our fingers in pies. 3 speed. I'm not going to change speed. I'll let them know. I think that we're not going to change it unless all the teams want it, especially as teams could be conspiring here. What about making 1 major, 1 minor, 1 unrecognized? The problem is, of the unrecognized powers, Qing is head and shoulders above Japan and everyone else, and Japan's like head and shoulders above everyone after that. As far as minor powers go, East India Company's head and shoulders above the rest, and as far as you know, GPs go, it's relatively balanced. But also, I like having as few constraints as possible, because we're looking to see what the min-max looks like, right? And if we put in a bunch of constraints, then we don't get to see it, right? If you disallow double landings, if you disallow war goal breaking, like these types of things, you know, yeah, sticking fingers in pies is an AI move anyway. We're better than that. Yeah, generally, you don't want to have PvP wars, I think, in general, until you reach a point where you're like, you know what the state of affairs is, everything has been clarified, and you know that you need to kneecap somebody. Maybe combined prestige and combined GDP as a team should be below a limit. That's an interesting one. I like that. I'll have to think on that. That is interesting. That would make China just a terrible pick, though, because on a per GDP basis, they suck. But that's interesting. I mean, if you look at percentage growth, it's not... like, on the last update, you know, we have an average... so when we did the last update, Team 1's total GDP growth percentage was 148%, which, by the way, is way more now that, you know, they've annexed this. Team 2 was 142%, and Team 3 was 170%. I also think Team 3 is playing better, on top of having a better draft. You know, I think that their GDP is, you know, very, like, although I don't like that China's on on what looks like wood frame buildings, right? Or actually, let's just take a closer look. No, they're on iron frame. Oh, you know what they might be doing? They're going all chop chops. And UK, they're in the UK's market, right? And UK is maxing out the iron mines instead. I like that. That's specialization for you. But if you interrupt the supply lines, like if you raid their convoys at the very end, this will hurt their GDP quite a bit, because they are inside the market, which you can get the same... What is... I think allowing a rev to go through is real not nice, because teams can join against you. I don't think anyone... Well, if Team 1 wants to stick it in Team 2's pie, I guess they could join in here, but I don't think it's pragmatic to join. You wouldn't mind double endings be disabled? The move is just pure cheese? You can actually defend against it as a player, is one thing as well. Like, there are ways to defend against it if you are paying attention. You were able to land the UK as newly formed Ethiopia with 3 boats? Hell yeah, brother. Of course, you weren't able to push, probably. Or maybe you were, I don't know. Would it have been worth France taking Spain and Portugal straight up? I don't think you can puppet Spain at the start, but puppeting Portugal... There's actually... I think there was huge underutilization in terms of a lot of early expansion spots. Like, you could have gone over here for the gold. You know, Great Qing picked this up for the gold. Persia has yet to be annexed, and they were puppeted in the opening move. And Persia has, like, a pretty good GDP, so, like, you annex this, you get another 5 milli, you know what I mean? I thought the Persia move was good, but not if you're not going to annex them. And Brazil is kind of at the point where they need to start annexing these boyos to realize the GDP growth. And this is one of the reasons I didn't want to do GDP growth percentage. is because when you have a smaller country, it makes it way better. And I was thinking Qing would maybe just suck. But like the Qing players crank it up. They're turning up. Because they also just benefit a lot from being recognized in this type of thing. So if you timed it very good and right before the end of declaring on Qing and cut off their supply routes, both UK and Qing economy would collapse and you'd hurt them very badly. Yes. There's a chance for Team 1 to win. Especially if Team 2 helps. I actually think Team 1, if Team 2 helps, I think Team 1's got a chance. But they have to declare war like now. There's 30 minutes remaining. They gotta start wars. You know, and brutalized. So yeah, just kind of update. Well, we're gonna take a look at last score update, but you know, it's not looking very good for Team 2. Is probably, I mean, I guess we could do an update after this war, but Team 2 is basically completely collapsed here. France has gone bankrupt, they said. Although it looks like their GDP is turning up a little bit. They were at 34 before, so they've actually gotten some grains. Yeah, Team 3 played well, but you also feel that they were unopposed. I agree, and I think that I think Diplo is an enormous part of this format with the 3v3v3, correctly identifying who is crushing and making sure that you negotiate with the other team to prevent them and to kneecap them as much as possible, I think is a central element of what's like skillful in this format. I think the diplomacy is just as important as like the Victoria 3 skill. And so this means that, you know, let's take a sip of some not piss water. This means that you know, I think teams 1 and 2 failed to identify that and go for that. Like, I don't think Team 3 won out of draft. Team 3 was unopposed because Team 1 had no interest in trying to win the game. I think they wanted to win. I don't think that's fair. Yeah, Team 2 tried to stop Team 3, but Team 1 didn't help. Yes, Team 2 tried to intervene in the Mexico War, which I think was correct. I was a big fan of that. I was a huge fan of that. The game mechanics make it hard to defend Mexico when they're the landings type of things. They maybe could have played it a little bit better landing the USA themselves, but definitely. It might have been better to declare war on the USA to lib Mexico in response to the annexation war. That almost certainly would have been better. In terms of mechanical execution, because you could have also put in other war goals as well, rather than joining the war. But, well, maybe not. I don't know. You could have tried to stall the USA out with one person like France, and then with Prussia declare war on the USA to release Mexico, and then you force them to fight the two wars. You think Team 1 didn't recognize they weren't in the best position? I gave them score updates, so I don't think that that's... I think that Generalist went until game end. 30 minutes remaining. And we are going to end the game and try and have a chat with the winners. This has been fascinating exploring this format, though, because there's so much you could do. Like, Prussia could have saved themselves. So... one of the problems I think with the Prussia and Italian double pick is no one can join anyone's market, but Prussia could have saved themselves or saved the team by donating provinces to France and then jumping into France's market, so France would have market access, and that way, you know, if this was donated and this was donated, you could have made a way to get away with that. But, like, I don't think the breaking the war goals via a secondary, declaring war on your allies is the most intuitive thing. Who do you say has better ships, Russia, England, or England, raiding convoys, robbing convoys, what? Definitely the UK has better ships at the start. But the lack of moves made against Team 3 by Team 1 is there's no way to make up this difference in 30 minutes without doing that, and they'd still need to annex Persia. You know, this is a lot to pick up. You know, when you take a look, that's a 10% juice. But it's definitely, I mean, there's a lot of, we could like come back and we could just talk about like draft ideas, right? And we just come in here. You know, Russia, I had it like first seed, I thought was the best pick. I still think Russia's extraordinarily good, but maybe Qing is just better, but not if we score it by percentage growth in the future, which we could do, right? But like, we had, Russia went as first pick, then the second pick, it took France and Prussia, and I think that, like, looking back, I would have rather seen France UK or France Great Qing, or even France Austria, but I understand the Prussia pick. But I also think that you could try and wield Prussia, right? You could try and get Prussia at the second half of the draft, or with your ninth pick, and it's unlikely, but I don't. You could do it. They also, if they wanted Prussia, what they should have done is they should have tried to trade with Team 3, so that they could have gotten like a sixth pick. You know, they should have tried to trade second and third, or they should have tried to trade their second and ninth pick, or their third and ninth pick, for like fifth and sixth pick if they know they're going for Prussia, right? And that way they draft France, and then they later draft like Prussia, Austria, and the draft looks much better for them, right? And then Team 3, I think, was correct to go UK, Great Qing, Austria, with perhaps the caveat that maybe East India Company would have been better than Austria, but okay. And then, you know, coming back around, it's, and this is all in retrospect, then then Team 1 had to select, and they had Austria and Brazil, and I think they should have taken East India Company in Austria, but okay. And then Team 3 picked Two Sicilies, which I understand the idea. Two Sicilies actually performed better than I thought it would. And I think maybe Two Sicilies deserves to be higher than Brazil and Mexico and Ottomans and maybe Netherlands in my tier list. But it didn't quite get there, especially with both Prussia and Two Sicilies kind of needing help. I also think Prussia starts out with skirmish infantry. We didn't see anyone donate. We didn't see much Great Qing donation of provinces occur, but you can do this, dono the province, right? And then look at this conscription center the USA has here. Right, so if you have skirmish infantry, they're not using it, but like if you have skirmish infantry with Prussia and you pair it with like Great Qing, you can get some spicy things going on. And it looks like East India Company is going to be annexed here to cap this off. And if subjugate Siam, okay, wait, that's not it. What are you at war with? Oh, they just joined in? Well, that's going to make it hard for UK to annex, but the UK doesn't even need to. Where's Gobir? I tried to pick the least impactful guy. If you donate 20, will I do an Ethiopia run? I have not. I would probably do an Ethiopia run, but I haven't considered I have not considered doing runs for money, like, in that sort of way, so I would want to actually consider, like, how I feel about the entire proposition, but to answer your question, yes, I would probably do that for 20 bucks. Because I've been wanting to do that anyways. You might see that anyway, though. It's possible that they didn't have an interest in Mexico. Yeah, that is possible. Can we make mock drafts, like, fantasy football? I suppose. I don't know how to exactly set up a mock draft. Yeah. Interest in Mexico is a no-brainer. Well, I mean, look, the game's going at speed 4. These players have a lot to think about and they can't pause, is another thing. You have to be generous to the players. Like, playing like this is tough, and they're trying to negotiate, and they're trying to keep track of what the other teams are doing as well. So, yeah. You know, there's a lot going on. Also, what's up, 1122? Hope you are safe. 1122 is from Ukraine, so like every time I get anxiety. No EIC rules. There was no rule established. So they can annex if they want. But I don't think they should go for annexation because they clearly have the win without the annexation. Hey! Thank you for the cheer. Don't feel obligated to do the Ethiopia run. Thanks for the entertainment. Thank you so much. Why Nike's fan? You are actually my second dono. I very much appreciated it. This is a very new type of experience for me. But thank you. I will probably do an Ethiopia run from now, but I need to reflect more on how I feel about that sort of... I very much like the democracy of running votes for the run, you know what I mean? But what I can do is I could just actually just put Ethiopia in every single vote till it wins. Can do that. Right now we're playing a Papal States as the current run, but next I will either play Ethiopia or I will include Ethiopia in whatever poll. But much appreciated. Saying you would do it anyway isn't very good salesmanship. I'm not trying to sell. But I agree with your with your sentiment. The AI just joined a war with Qing. We aren't annexing it. Yeah. That is the current state of affairs. We aren't annexing it yet. I don't think they need to, and I don't think they need the headache of UK, you know, going after... Oh, UK is involved in this war? Then this means they won't be able to annex them by the end date. If the UK is involved in this war. I didn't see UK was on... Yeah, I don't think you should be allied with... whatever. I don't think you should be allied with them, but it looks like they are also... What is this war even for? People should be... As we are reaching the end date, people should be annexing, you know, people rather than subjugating. So, like, are they subjugating here, Siam? It would be preferable to annex Dynam in terms of your GDP. Trying to do it as much. Romania? I know I mispronounced that one. It's right there. France ended their embargo with Russia. That is maybe spicy. Maybe there's been some forgiveness between Team 1 and 2. We got 20 minutes remaining. I will let the players know. And probably just invite all of them to post discussion. Max money? What about max money? My money? I'm just chilling here in Go Beer. I guess my people don't want to be naked anymore. Oh. It's sinful to not have on sawmills, isn't it? What if I just cranked up in Go Beer as much as possible from the start? Be a little bit of an interesting prospect. France started embargoing Russia. Well, you know, it's how it goes sometimes, you know? They really need to annex this Persia if they want to get the GDP bump off of that. But it looks like, let's just check wars. Russia's involved in that war. Austria, I think, is chilling, or, yep. And then Brazil is going after, is this annexation? They're puppeting Paraguay. I think you got to be switching to annex mode here towards the end. But if you're playing to the goal of GDP growth, because then you integrate the GDP rather than just expand the market. Long term, it's better to puppet, but short term, it's better to annex. France is involved in a war against Switzerland. Who I assume they are going after. I assume they are... they should be annexing here, but they're subjugating, which is fine. Like, in a longer game, this is what you want to do anyways. Prussia is probably crying because they don't have Silesia, to be honest. That's so brutal, losing this. Yeah. They're just not recovering from this, yeah. That's rough. Two Sicilies is doing alright, though. Two Sicilies is kind of poised to pass up Prussia, which is a little wild. Qing is, I think, involved in this war, as is the UK, and then USA is just chilling. Kind of war update here. An all unrecognized or second tier nations game would be awesome. We might do some stipulation stuff, but I really like the full uncapped full power type of thing. But we might have to revisit how we're scoring it. You know, I think I'll put in the chat, because the competitive doc is. We're going to link this in the chat here for anyone who wants to take a look at it. But the competitive spreadsheet is letting people know. You know, you can click on this and you can see what the growth percentage is. Generalist does go beer and wins by himself. Yeah, that would be 1 million GDP percent growth. Yeah, that would be an interesting one. I don't think I would want to do it in a place that doesn't have iron. I don't think we have iron. I think we have coal. Be a little bit rough, but you can take a look kind of at the way things are. We got 15 minutes remaining. France ends their embargo. France is looking to just spam here. France ends their embargo. We're seeing taking on debt continue to be utilized by Team 3, which I think is smart, especially if you have someone kind of going ahead on. Wow, GDP is cranked up for them since our last check. That is wild. Yeah, the UK and Great Qing are definitely really rocking things. Just very, very strong growth here. And who is their third? The USA? Yeah, this team's... They're doing really good. And Team 1's doing pretty good too. Like their growth rate is pretty solid, but it's just especially Austria picking up the Silesia is pretty big deal. Like if let's hover GDP. I think that's their highest GDP province. Yeah. Austria's highest GDP province is Silesia. The truth hurts. Is there an Anbanar mod for Victoria 3? Not as far as I know. You tried Messina recently after only realized that they have neither wood nor iron? Yeah, that truth also hurts. Ethiopia doesn't have iron, coal, or easy coastal access. Well, you can make it. You just conquer out. I will have fun with that. UK can't siphon off the Qing pops yet. Because they don't have multiculturalism. But this, yeah, crank up is insane. I wonder how upset the people, Team 2 is right now, off this, this kind of stinky, to some degree, stinky war. I mean, it's definitely smart if you're playing for second. If you're playing for second, it makes a whole lot of sense because you kind of lock it in. Also, like in terms of wars, it actually does it did increase Austria's GDP by just an enormous amount, right? And so on that front, it was perhaps like big brain, but like I think they were at a point. I think after the first update of Score, maybe they should have considered trying to do something, but you know they didn't. Today I learned going isolationism kicks you out of custom duty. Does it really? What country is he playing as? I don't think it does if you're a protectorate. Or if you're a vassal. So that would have been the play. Is he even isolationist though? He's not. Okay. Ghostmaster is not upset. He is stupid for thinking he was a... if you are listening in, Ghostmaster, you're not supposed to be. Earthrat says he messed up by not picking EIC. So that was my bad. Or maybe they're just discussing it. Yeah, that is the... I think... I think this is, as far as draft goes, this is really spooky. Drafting the UK and not drafting East India Company, and then also drafting the East India Company is also a little spooky. But, like, East India Company has, like, is very, very similar to Qing, you know? And is maybe even better than Qing because you have access to all the pops, but you don't have, like, they can't possibly build everything out. And they have, like, the same access to cheap labor, effectively. They do have discrimination, though, so maybe it's, yeah. There's not much incentive to fight for second. I told players that if there is a sort of league scoring, you will get 3 points for first, 2 for second, and 1 for third. So there is. So if players are receiving, you know, league points, it makes sense to fight for second. Yeah, that's the right attitude with it. Oh, you realize that now regarding the Prussia thing, or that you weren't supposed to? Okay, let's see. Let's read the chat. For us, we only wanted to pick Prussia if we got Prussia and Austria, was what Brandon said. And then Ghostmaster responds, yeah, realize that now, because Austria got in Prussia's way. It's over, and then Brandon reveals the draft strategy, where if they are first draft, they are going to go for Qing USA. If they have second pick, they were going to go for Russia and France/Prussia. And third pick, Prussia, Austria, Russia. So it looks like they had Qing as the idea of the first pick, which I think, in retrospect, that looks like that might be the strategy, right? And not going for Russia first. But also, I think that both teams needed to be more proactive by kneecapping the potential growth of the Great Qing player. But the Great Qing player also got USA, UK. So, like, it's not like they were weak militarily. And so, like, it creates a bit of it creates a weird situation, you know, where you would have to double down. But, like, if you release UA out of here, like, you lose this, you lose all of these sub-farms, right? For, like, 6 provinces. And I think that just cripples the hell out of you. Like, I'm not sure. I think there's still some playability. It looks like the other draft strategy is revealed here by another team. Why don't we kind of put on up my opinions, or the power rankings I made initially, and then going into today, I thought that these power rankings kind of overvalued, in particular, Spain, which is why there's an asterisk. That was the one I thought I made the biggest mistake on, but also overvalued, or undervalued a little bit, the high pop countries in EIC and China, and also skirmish infantry, because you can kind of do stuff at the start. But Ghostmasters, saying his plan, strength if pick, was they were going to go for France, Prussia, Great Britain, Austria, US, Russia, Brazil, Italy. Importance of countering Prussia, France, Qing, Great Britain. They were going to go, first pick, they were going to go France into another European nation and US, Brazil. That seems sensible. Second pick would have been Prussia plus support neighbors. So Prussia plus Austria, I think, is just, it's conceptually very interesting, and plus US. And third pick, strongest what's left. And we were planning on ganging up on Qing to stop what happened this game. That is very smart. You know, here, I'm going to add... but, you know, I think stopping this Qing thing is a pretty big deal. But we'll switch back to the score. Now, these scores aren't updated. I suppose I'm going to... I don't want to pull the scores now, because we want to do it in 9 minutes. But there's not incentive to fight for second. You lose. Second place is like a participation trophy. Okay, that was the last chat we had. Yeah. There is incentive if league scoring comes into effect. But it's interesting to note that, you know, Team 3 actually does not have the strongest GDP percentage growth, and it's all pretty tight. And Team 1 actually, on that metric, overperformed. let's go back to the Diplo, or at least overperform going into that huge war. I thought Prussia was going to be OP because you can annex like 3 million, 30 million. Yeah. It does make a lot of sense. So I'm just letting him know a little bit. We'll unpack this more in post, though. Like, I think you do go East India Company, though, right? And then the Diplo, you have to attack us as 2 teams before you get Mexico. I think that was correct as well. France joining in was, like, heads up, I think was the correct type of play here. But this is just, like, it's fascinating because the Diplo is such a big portion of the game, and I think that the Diplo metagame is not necessarily well understood, but if players understand that you just dogpile the Qing player immediately, then Qing doesn't look like the stellar pick. Their GDP's even dropped a little bit here. I'm not sure what that's about. I don't think there's any major player wars here occurring. I think that people are kind of just I think that they're kind of locking it up, and so maybe maybe we should conclude this a couple minutes early and just invite everyone into the post game.
So I don't know if you noticed, but near the end we made a bit of a blunder with our team and lost 30 mil GDP.
Which team are you?
UK Qing and USA.
What'd you do? I did
no.
notice Great Qing's like GDP plummeted. What happened there?
They
we
went
did
isolationist and left the British market, which decreased the GDPs a fair bit.
That makes a whole lot of sense.
Didn't pay attention to time. Our team was about to declare war on Qing.
It's a little bit late on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I am
Sorry
going
about
to.
that,
It was a bit chilly.
Team one was
All
straight
right,
up
I'm
playing.
going to do the GDP updates while you guys can discuss post.
Can we pretend like a united Italy?
No.
Yeah.
I don't know. I
don't
don't get the Italy-Brazil picks. Can
Until
someone
we
explain them
pretend
to
like
me?
united is.
Brazil's a good pick. Brazil is good.
Brazil's not a good pick when you have other countries that can get way bigger GDP. Way
I think
quicker.
Brazil
so
was not
who-
necessarily terrible.
I should
No,
pick the IC. I
Okay,
think.
whoever picked Brazil, I was gonna support Brazil with all of South America because I know what it's like to play as Brazil, and it's just awful until you get all of South America. So
You also should have started annexing subjects. You got in
I
general
know,
for all
I
you
know.
guys.
I'm aware.
Yeah.
I'm aware of my mistakes. Okay.
but yeah,
Are you though?
when Russia and Austria tried fucking cucking me from blocking the United States from growing even farther, they just threw the game.
They threw first place. I think if the goal was to win second, then it makes sense.
I'm just surprised you guys didn't team up.
Let's pretend like a united Italy, though, because look at it. I'm a little vassal
Yeah, it's
swarm.
hard to understand anyone when everyone talks at the same time. by the way.
Yes. Is there a way?
I'll shut up.
Okay, so players from Team 1, which was Russia, Austria, Brazil. What are your thoughts?
Well, my fault
Our
as someone who isn't an extreme expert on the game. We
My
kind of
thoughts?
early gave up on defeating USA in Qing. When they lost the Customs Union War, we kind of wanted to do a quick play on them, but
Yeah, because if you think about it, if we did that, we would have to focus the whole game, and that just wasn't possible.
I mean, it was only 10 years. It wasn't like we freaking...
Yeah, that's another thing. I think that moving forward might have to do like 20 years minimum, which was going to be like really long time, and so I don't know.
we had like no time, and we kind of also thought that it was kind of hinted at that we might continue the session
Yes.
next week.
So
we kind of batted on that one as well.
that is also moving forward. We're going to do a poll whether we want to continue this game, start a new game, continue with this game with new players or with old players. I encourage you guys to, I think I have this here for the spreadsheet. Come and take a look at the spreadsheet as well. I will find a way to pull it up better on the stream for everyone to see. Let's see. We are going to, in kind of this post-game talk. All right, so Team 2, what were your thoughts?
Well, so of course I messed up when I got my country split in half by Austria taking Hesse Castle, which was insanely stupid. Fuck you.
I always do it. It's always a fucking
Also, I think that it was fucking naive for me to think that I can just form Germany, and that's also a big problem since you kind of either get Austria, you can from Germany, I guess, in this game mode, or your enemies are incompetent.
Sorry, but it's very easy to block Prussia, as Austria, Russia, or Great Britain. Like Great Britain could have also get the customs union on Hanover and then has a castle.
Well, I did have the customs union on Hanover.
Oh yeah, I noticed.
Yeah, because if Germany would have
That's what
formed
blocks
that...
it.
So if people want to block Prussia, it's quite easy. I mean,
Yeah,
strictly
but-
speaking,
okay, so the
Prussia,
thing
So
is-
I think you guys actually made a tactical error as well. You didn't have to lose Silesia and or West Prussia or East Prussia, whatever it was. You could have had two Sicilies declare war on Prussia for the same war goals and capitulated to two Sicilies.
Yo, one thing, you
You would have
miscalculated my
allowed
GDP.
that?
That's allowed, yeah.
No, that's some
God
cheesy,
damn, yeah, that's...
Generalist.
that's some cheesy
Generalist.
bullshit.
Well, this is the full power
Even if
game.
that's my team getting fucked on,
Generalist.
that's kind of some bullshit.
All right, who's saying generalist? What's up?
You got my GDP wrong.
Who?
Sicily.
What is it?
You put it backwards. It's 9.7, not 7.9.
Oh, I apologize.
Can we take the UK GDP before the blunder when it was at 94 mil?
No.
Please.
It's not allowed.
Wait, why is the Prussian GDP at 22 million?
it's
Impressive.
13 million.
Oh, because
Oh, wait.
I'd only updated the first. I'd only updated Team 1. I was still in the process of
Okay.
updating.
Another thing is, can we add in?
Yeah, I was actually pretty happy with how my industry grew, but the war killed it.
Yeah, I threw whenever I was trying to make sure you guys...
Can we just pretend like a united Italy?
No.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I was actually
if you guys
about to call you and
You
say
have Italy at home.
if you guys look
Actually-
though,
Yeah.
percent
No, I-
percent GDP growth was rather competitive. Was a lot more competitive than nominal. So moving
I
forward,
doubled my GDP. I doubled mine.
yeah,
Oh, yeah, that is really close.
and also
Yeah, I mean, I was also at 180%, so I guess
I mean, Britain
we're doing
quadrupled
good.
theirs, almost.
yeah, I think that the best.
Yeah, before I fucked it up.
I
Or
think
the Qing did.
I think UK was probably the best performance.
Yeah.
Well, here's the
Well,
thing though.
Chat says
as
you-
just a
Yeah,
bit
we
of,
got
as a bit of context, I play multiplayer games a couple times a week and have
Yeah.
since game release.
Yeah.
Oh, this
So it might put me a bit higher than some of the other people who've never played multiplayer before.
Yeah,
That
no,
makes
the
sense.
second,
Yeah.
the
I mean,
second
I
GDP,
did good for my first multiplayer game.
Yeah. Someone says
Oh, I am happy with my game.
someone says that Shing or Shing blockaded themselves in chat.
Yeah.
Just thought you would appreciate that. But in 10 years, it's also, I think we need 20-year sessions and also potentially need to play this over multiple, like, because just dissecting the format. But I also think teams 1 and 2 needed to team up.
Well, here's
Yeah, I want to know what happened with that.
Here's the thing, though.
We were just fine watching.
No, here's the thing.
Okay, I have stuff to say about it.
Alright, wait, team 1 opinions first, and then we'll do team 2.
Yeah, at the beginning there was confusion about team 2 and 3, which was which. We kind of talked to team 3 when we tried to talk to team 2 by accident.
People joined the wrong lobby, yeah.
Oh,
yeah, sorry about that.
C was supposed to be 3, wasn't it?
Which kind of sort of stone.
Here's the thing: is that I play multiplayer a lot too. And the second I saw the UK join or the China joined the GP's market, I knew game was over immediately because that is such a hard rule in multiplayer matches because it's just so broken. I was like, okay.
I'm just surprised you weren't saying that.
I think
and
that
trying to, like,
teams 1 and 2, if you guys form that opinion very, very, very early, I think if you just do every release war possible against Great Qing, then they just get kneecapped. Because if you release UA from Great Qing, they lose like 30 million GDP. And the team has a negative score.
I don't think it would have won us the game anyway, to be honest.
I don't think so either.
Well, I mean,
I think the right play would have been. The Brazil player brought this up. Is that if you would have picked East India Company? That probably would have.
I should have picked EIC and held GB hostage. Is what I should have done.
Yeah, 100%. I was blown away that no one picked EIC.
I regret. It was like very early on. I realized that was a mistake of mine.
So already Team 1 kind of like handicapped themselves.
So did I. Well, let's get Team 3's opinions on the not alliance against you guys. I thought it was very smart.
You guys start or go last.
Huh?
No, I'm really surprised if you knew that from the start. You didn't just immediately try to team up altogether. Yeah, especially since you had France, Russia.
From game starts with the picks, it was like that was it because it was just.
Chat thought Team 3's draft was best as well, although it was somewhat close. I think it was like 40-something% to 30-something to 20-something.
Yeah, I thought like the third pick was strong because you just get to choose all 3 right off the bat.
I think that in the draft, Team 2, if they wanted Prussia, and I mentioned this in the chat, but if Team 2 wanted Prussia, they should have tried to trade down picks.
Yeah, because this is also the thing. At beginning, I wanted our Team 1 to have France, Austria, and Russia, so that we can kind of have like a wall around Europe, and so we have multiple interests everywhere. But yeah, so it's kind of my fault too to not initiate the switch too. So I mean, again, everything falls on the picks. So it looks like Team 1 and Team 2 kind of messed up on our picks.
We drafted Sicily. Like I don't think France and Russia is really all that bad, but then you gotta have something to go along with.
I think if
what
the
was
scoring
the
system
plan behind Sicily?
We had a Italian kid.
Let me explain. So, I had no choice because I was like either Sicily, Brazil, and I wanted Brazil, but Brazil got picked, so I'm like Sicily, and I didn't think of EIC, but I didn't like I was in Ottomans,
Yeah, I thought they were gonna pick a.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of counterintuitive to join as a vassal of the enemy team.
Yeah,
I mean,
you could also pretty aggressively ask for independence from the UK. Just be like, I will sink both of our ships here if you don't release me.
There's only so much the EIC can do against the UK at game start, and with the Qing on my side, it could have just been an annex play from game start.
But in my case, I would have had Russia on my side too, which would have made it very
It's
different.
iffy, and then we have
If
US.
I was all some goofy shit like that, I would have definitely fucking put my little happy ass over there too.
Like,
I've got some fucking interest in that South India.
So already, I mean, really, I mean, it's just the fact that it's the China pick. It's just a good pick. It's just.
So moving forward,
I'm surprised it wasn't taken faster.
Moving forward, might do GDP growth percentage instead. Which, by the way, Sicily did fairly well in.
Exactly.
You
but
need
the
to have
problem
limits
with the
because you
growth
can just have
percentage is
fucking
that-
like Bahrain join the UK market and grow like
No, but
millions of
One
percent.
team GDP growth percentage. So if you draft
Generalist.
like a bunch of if you draft 3 weak countries, you're just gonna get rolled by the enemies, right? So you can't draft
Yeah,
weak
but
countries.
the thing is that if you go by percentage, you're gonna give Prussia a huge advantage.
Prussia, France,
Like,
and UK
I mean,
get
as you,
better,
as you
yeah.
saw in the
That's why you
screenshot
counter.
I shared
That's why you
in the
counter
chat,
it.
I increased my GDP 9-fold because they annexed all of it.
Yeah, but against
you wanna see the
human,
picture-
human
Yeah,
players
Yeah,
are
but
gonna interfere.
blocking the annexation is really easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you pick it right and everything, let's say
Oh,
it's,
yeah, if
it's
you
like
have,
a
like,
it's
Prussia, Austria,
a
Russia in a team,
Prussia is a
it's
big
easy.
advantage in percentage. That's the problem.
I don't think it'd change it too much. I think you just pick your poison, whether you want it straight or percentage.
I mean, like,
but
I think,
ultimately,
I mean, I play for
USA's,
fun. I don't care about the competition,
I
so
mean-
I'm happy with spending.
You don't want to look at the DM groups we had. we strategized a little too much, to be honest.
Ah,
It was
it's-
fun.
Yeah, you sweat lords.
One thing though.
It's a
How
strategy
dare
game. That we
you.
were
Yeah,
made for
we have
strategizing.
strategy.
How dare you.
One thing I gotta say is England did annex the Sikh Empire, which gave them like 20 GDP, 20 million,
Yeah,
which is
I
like
saw that.
yeah, it gave a fair bit from
yeah,
start.
that was I was commenting
But it's
on
not
that.
20 million. It was only 8, but still, it's helpful.
Okay, let's.
Are you sure about that? Let me check. Hold up.
Yeah, it's just a hot bit of turmoil and was the whole game after I annexed it, so it's not
I was
crazy.
it.
Oh yeah, all conquest is big.
I am a
turmoil.
little disappointed that I didn't get to try PvP.
Who are you playing as?
US.
I mean, you
What do
did. You
mean?
had
You fought
friends
France.
over
Yeah,
there.
I did a little, but it
You did one of
it
the
didn't go all the way
ones.
through.
The France versus
PvP
US.
Yeah, but I
game's
checked,
weird.
and yes,
Oh,
at
yeah.
the time your capital was still in
Hey,
Washington, and that was a huge disadvantage for you.
France, can you walk me through the choice to intervene on the Mexico War? I'm just really curious.
I thought that was super smart.
Yeah, I don't think that's super smart either.
No, I thought it was
Yeah.
super smart.
Wait,
I thought
what happened? I'm sorry, I cannot hear what you're saying.
The-
Thoughts behind the France war.
Yeah, the France war with the U.S.
Oh,
I
why
get
did I
it.
chop you stopping Mexico? Why
Yeah.
the fuck would I let you fucking grab a whole 5 million GDP more
Oh, you're right.
and dies, bro? Look,
Did
the United
just-
States does
just
not have
for
dies
France.
when you get Mexico.
did
I
you
mean-
notice the UK didn't have an interest in Mexico before you joined, or was that just a happy accident?
It was a happy accident.
Yeah, okay.
I would have fucking joined with UK anyway, though.
You probably would have lost then
I did
if it was
lose
just you.
because fucking
But yeah,
Well,
also
the-
US
I
went
mean-
crazy.
or Team 1. I'm sorry.
Teams
They
teams
straight
one
up
and-
fucking declared war on my fucking ally. That was one
Yeah.
of the dumbest moves they could have done. Why didn't they try to do something else about the team that was way far ahead of us?
It's smart if they were
mean-
playing for second. At the beginning, I said potential of league points, right? Where you get 3 for first, 2 for second, 1 for third. Doing that cemented themselves as second place and Team 3 as first place.
Again, we
At that point, that was
we didn't stand a chance against Qing.
the idea. That was the
Yeah.
idea. At that point,
So,
yeah, we essentially were just like, okay, we're gonna go for second. And
I think you still
Yeah.
could have gone for first, but
probably
Maybe,
could've.
but I don't think our group had the skill. So,
Well,
You-
again,
you would have had to
it's a
declare
time
like 4
too.
to 5 wars on Qing. I think is how you do
Yeah.
it between
Yeah,
the two
and then-
teams.
And then again, we would have to focus on mil tech the whole game. So
Yeah, I was building up my military at the end just in case you guys wanted to do a war.
Adding a bunch
Yeah,
of
'cause-
military.
I'm
is good for
surprised
Qing.
never
I
came.
was building my military as well.
I need like
here's the
one
thing.
more
Double it.
exploding artillery.
here's the thing: the UK player, he could have put sign, and you could have did Punjab, and you could have just built up a military, 200 right there.
Yeah, but I mean, there wasn't a point. I mean, that's money away from construction, and we weren't
That
really
is
friends.
true.
So...
But what I'm saying is that if we would have done the round of trying to get China off.
Oh yeah, if you would have gone aggressive, the UK does have pretty good potential to just build a shitload of
Yeah.
military, and we don't have island integrated game start, so you can just do Space Marines in Ireland.
Exactly.
So
Did anyone delete military at game start?
yeah, the Qing did.
really?
Prussia.
Oh
Makes
dang.
sense.
Okay.
We were gonna do putting Prussia into the French market. so we could all share the market, but
Yeah.
he copped out like 40 things in, and we were like, fuck it, we're just gonna take over.
I am pretty sure if Prussia was part of the France market, they wouldn't be able to get form North Germany.
You think so?
Yeah, because they need to be in the same customs union.
Yeah, but I was about to say it would be easier for all of us to get more of them into the custom union.
I don't know about the Prussia formation, but the Italy formation doesn't require them to be in your customs union. It's just the same customs union, so you can be in France's together.
Are you weird? Are you sure? Because for me, it wasn't working. Like I had pretty decent relations with 2 of them.
Yeah, I think they need to be in part of your customs union, and not all be in the same customs union.
Not with Italy. Italy, you can form.
Well,
with the smaller ones.
I was thinking if that was possible, but like I wasn't gonna risk it if I don't know it, because if I do it and it doesn't work, I just lose the chance to form Germany.
Yeah. I mean, I think Prussia's a really the unification plan. I think is a really good one. I just don't think it's second or third pick. Is the
you see?
I'm also very surprised.
It's
just
like
France and Prussia.
Yeah,
you guys.
For our idea for Germany, we made sure to have Prussia and Austria on the same team, and since we didn't get that, we threw away that idea.
You see, our thinking on Team 1 was that I actually asked Austria if he wanted to give leadership to Prussia. I thought that it probably would be better to have a formed Germany, but then I guess it just didn't work out.
Yeah.
Anyway, but Prussia and France.
Well, maybe it was just delusional because I'm sleep deprived, but I was thinking we were just gonna steamroll Austria and Russia because you have better military tech.
Yeah, that doesn't work anymore with the new update.
I think fighting, if you get in an existential war with another team, it's really bad for your team, I think.
Yeah, but anyway, you could have just to pump your GDP.
But I think we would have won. I mean, it would have been costly, but
just you should have annexed Belgium pretty much. I don't know why you didn't. That was a very easy war for you to win, and it was what is 8 mil GDP now.
I'm surprised no one transferred East India Company.
That's the only thing else. That was the scariest part. That's the only thing that could have fucked us pretty bad. It wouldn't have been that bad since Qing was in the market, but it would have been.
We came close to like annexing them, but we didn't want to risk the.
Yeah, if the game had ended, we would have again made a big play for Qing and just risked it, I think.
Yeah.
Team 1.
I mean, again, everything. You see, if China would have done his mill, he literally just could have leached off the UK's market, and just get all the supplies from there. Our thinking was in Team 1, if we were going to do a war, we were going to build up our navy and just convoy raid China. But since he went isolationist, that didn't work. We were ready to convoy raid it.
Convoy raided yourselves.
Wow. Well, that was a good game, boys.
Yeah.
It's fun.
I had a good time, even though
It was fun, for sure.
Yeah, next
next
time, I think we definitely have to run it longer than 10 years. I think that.
If you do want it. This update's particularly bad for running, but before 1.3, we could get 20 years in 4 hours in a multiplayer game with like 20 people.
But yeah.
At 5 times
when would the next one be?
I'm gonna do it next week, and I'm gonna poll my YouTube to see what people want to do. So if the poll for you guys continuing playing as the same countries wins, we'll do that. And if you guys are still interested, I know if I was playing Prussia, I'd be a little upset. But yeah. Austria Austria could always return Silesia.
Wait. My opinion is to start a new one since it's kind of a runaway game.
Yes.
To some degree, that's my intuition. But if it's well, I'm gonna let the chat decide the fates. But I think that a new game with also doing percentage GDP growth will be good, because I think that if you score percentage GDP growth, of course there's the example, well, what if someone picks a really small country and juices it up? It's team percentage GDP growth.
Yeah, so...
And if your entire team's small, you're going to get rolled.
Because if you look at my team, I had an insane GDP growth, but since our GDP difference is so big, it didn't make a difference. Yeah. Well, you know, Silesia gave like an 8 million difference.
Yeah, Silesia's big anyway. If you're doing percentage,
especially since you're so tall.
I'll give you a percentage strategy right now. You have one player as the UK, and then 2 people as either like South Australia with its tiny starting GDP, or like Sierra Leone.
Yeah.
Just go.
Then the other teams should just kneecap you.
Yeah, but that they have to also require to not be on smaller countries to get the higher GDP. So they have to sacrifice themselves to bigger countries so they can kneecap you.
Well, but so, if they just make if they make the UK's GDP negative, they just lose.
I guess, but you'd have to have like a team of bruisers to fuck another team up, but then they couldn't win because they're all big countries.
No, but the if someone drafts like that, then the other 2 teams will come in on you.
I do like the idea of the British Empire versus like.
Yeah, I think it is an interesting idea. Small countries that can't be like easily taken, like United States, and then the Indian Territory.
Yeah, someone. I'm trying to figure out how to put stuff so I can see stuff. Someone also floated an interesting idea in chat, which is there's a cap to the amount of GDP you can draft.
Oh, that's pretty good.
And I really like that as well.
Oh, it's pretty much
I think it makes UK and Prussia extraordinarily strong.
Yeah,
but
it nerfs China like crazy.
China into the dirt. And if we look,
pretty much China's impossible to pick.
I don't even know where to put all these things. But if we look at China's GDP growth rate, it was 200%. The USA had the best growth rate. Oh, sorry, Austria did, but we're not counting Austria.
100%?
Well, I can tell you, UK had the best until the Qing went isolationist, and we died.
I think Austria probably beat you.
No, I was at 96 before the Qing incident, we'll call it.
So then maybe.
We thought we were being so smart because like we didn't need it wasn't gonna matter anyway, so we'll just take the extra authority. And then we got kicked out of the customs.
I think you can accept becoming a protectorate and then you can't get booted, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's different. Yeah, because that's a full-on vassal.
Yeah.
I mean,
by the way, you guys said that I have to get Hanover into my market to form the North German Confederation, right?
I'm not sure
because
if you need
because I don't think that's true. Because in the single-player game I just clicked the button.
Yeah, you just need leadership, but Hanover won't join the North Germans, so that kind of.
Yeah.
It did. I mean, in the single-player game, it did.
Okay.
It shouldn't. If it's not in your union, it shouldn't join. That's how the mechanics meant to work.
Are you off?
I'm gonna go now.
Yeah, and I also have like Saxony in my customs union and Bremen, so you wouldn't have gotten these either.
I mean,
yeah.
Here's the thing, though.
Ace in chat notes that if you start UK and 2 subjects, France will just open with transfer the East India Company. I think if I was...
Yeah, but how are they gonna get proof if they don't have the Navy?
You just... I mean, like... If you have the team with France as well, I don't think UK can deal with 12 landings simultaneously.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna... Because what's a generic rule in almost all multiplayer games I've played is the naval invasions, because it's so easy to cheese wars by just spamming the shit out of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is one rule I've considered. I wanted to see it high power, because as a player you can also defend against it by recruiting more generals.
Yeah, it's not impossible.
And re-landing behind, but... it's not, and also you can land them while they try and land you. It also notably would make UK a lot weaker relative to like Austria, right? And so I think it's balanced through the pick order and the like, the tripedal balance, not because, like you don't draft UK as high when you can do triple and quadruple landings, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was actually suggesting to the Brazil player, Alfred, that if he came to war with Britain, I just naval invade with the 3 admirals I have, and he's gonna naval invade with the 3 admirals he has at the same time. And one of them will surely go through.
Yeah. So that's the strat, but you can't enforce on Austria like that. So then like Austria gets better, and like everyone. I was surprised people didn't move their capitals.
Oh yeah, I kept suggesting that Russia should do it.
The Russia one is just the basics. You gotta move it. You gotta move it.
You see, it has also took a long time to move the capital.
Especially Beijing, I think.
Well,
I think
I knew I had to move my capital from St. Petersburg, but I thought that it's just too funny, so I won't do it.
I didn't factor
I
in
think I
the
moved
end,
mine
so
to Kentucky at the end.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah,
people didn't punish, but I was. I actually made the no declaring rules before unpausing because I was expecting a day one DAO against China, and I wanted to allow China to move their capital before that happened. That's why I put that rule in, and then China never got DAO'd on.
Well,
yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
Also for game speed, I'm probably slowing up the game as well since I'm connecting from across the world. That's also just other people. If you concentrate people in the same area, so all North America or Europe, then it runs a lot faster.
Which area are you? Sorry.
I'm in Australia, so other side of the world.
Yeah, Australia.
Yeah.
I'm in Germany, so I'm like in the middle between, kind of.
Yeah.
Actually, no, Australia is closer to the west coast.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't that bad. I don't think for the variety of locations we have, it wasn't that bad. Like,
yeah, but it's just 1.3 has been so bad with performance and multiplayer. It's horrible.
Oh yeah. Also, corn laws. Oh, that nerf is so bad. Oh my lord.
I like that it nerfs a bunch of the
good,
like East India Company in China and stuff.
Yeah, you can't just exploit your way to being #1 GP in like 10 years.
You see, what you see, the thing is that I had a strategy to do it. I just deleted all my wheat farms, but I remembered, oh yeah, I published Persia, and that is eating up all my grain.
Well, I think even deleting all your wheat farms, most of them come from subsistence farms. So even then, I don't think
no. But you see, there's a certain point in like 18, I think 41 or 42, to where it gets at 25% on the dot. Because you're moving them out of the farms because you're industrializing. And you're selling all your wheat to every single person you can.
Yeah.
So
I was kind of expecting Russia to breadbasket USA and then get USA in the same market as, breadbasket Brazil, and then that way they would force evict all their pops to move to Brazil.
I thought about going into the UK market, but I would have stolen all of the population.
Yeah, well,
from UK.
Initially we were going to do a supermarket under the UK, but the pops will just leave, and I would just be left with nothing because it's already pretty bad. It's already bad enough in the UK with pops leaving. If America was,
and then also the UK. I love the fact that you went after resources. I saw that the whole game, and I was like, God damn it, that was so good.
Yeah, the UK built all the UK. I was surprised not to see encourage manufacturing in or encourage resource industries in Shaanxi.
It's not really.
Yeah, I was doing some I was trying to do some sneaky things like importing grain and art from you guys.
Yes.
But I imported art from Britain and France, and like literally a year, half a year later, fucking my private construction queue just started making like 3 art academies.
Rip the dream. Did anyone go for pump jacks?
No, they're far off.
Not really. We didn't really have that much time.
Yeah, you didn't. I don't think you had enough time, but that's like an insane tech.
It was.
Comes to...
it would have been feasible.
Far away from pump jacks.
UK could have done it if I focused, but I went for other techs. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, as France, I could have got it, but it was 19 years. So.
Yeah.
So not feasible.
You need way more type.
I think I'm gonna. You guys can keep talking in here. I'm gonna outro the stream and end the stream, and then I'll be back after using the bathroom. But I'll leave this up for you guys.
Gonna head out. Right. Thanks for the game, guys.
Yeah, see ya.
Alright, so that's it for the stream, you guys. We're in negotiations with ourselves. And then we're gonna... Yeah, doesn't matter what we're doing after that. That's the stream. Be back next week. We will be doing... planning on doing the same thing at the same time. Except maybe with different teams. Maybe running the same game with the same teams. And maybe starting a whole new game, new players, or same game with different teams. Just depends on what people are interested in. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe. It does help out. And other than that, have a good day, you guys. And hope to see